Welcome to Sunday Night with Old Time Radio. Here it is, the 18th of February, 2024. We'll begin tonight with a presentation from Great Britain, from the Olvatinis. No, I never heard of them either. It was a children's club formed in the 1930s in Great Britain to promote the drinking of Ovaltine. We shift then to drama with Rebecca, comedy with the Goldbergs, lights out, so we have suspense with Come to the Bank. A force called XO7 follows, and we close with the third episode of Dam Busters. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let's get started.
This is a program presented by the makers of Ovaltine, especially to the League of Ovaltinis. We are the Ovaltinis, little girls and boys. Make your request, we'll not refuse you. We are here just to amuse you. Would you like a song or story? Will you share our joys? At games and sport we're more than keen. No merrier children could be seen. Because we all drink Ovaltine, we're happy girls and boys.
We are the Ovaltinis, little girls and boys. Make your request, we'll not refuse you. We are here just to amuse you. Would you like a song or story? Will you share our joys? At games and sport we're more than keen. No merrier children could be seen. Because we all drink Ovaltine, we're happy girls and boys. Would you like a song or story? Will you share our joys? At games and sport we're more than keen. No merrier children could be seen. Because we all drink Ovaltine, we're happy girls and boys.
Good afternoon, everybody. Initial letter N speaking, Chairman of the Grand Council of the League of Ovaltinis. I want you to listen to the Grand Council giving the roll call, just to make sure everybody's here. Are you ready? Go.
O-V-A-L-T-I-N
N.
Ovaltines!
Never mind those wedding chimes, sing those little nursery rhymes. Let me hear a song with a different flavor. Make me feel that I'm a kid, doing what I used to did. Won't somebody please do me this favor? I could feel so thrilly, hearing Jack and Jilly. Though it may seem silly, it's home sweet home to me. Sing a song of nonsense, pocket full of fun. Idly come out with me and see the sun. Let's go roller skating on the lawn. Let's put earmuffs on an ear of corn. Sing a song of nonsense, pocket full of rye. Let's see a show, but when we go we'll close one eye. I'm fond of ice cream, you scream and we all scream. Sing a song of nonsense, pocket full of fun.
Sing a song of nonsense, pocket full of fun. Idly come out with me and see the sun. Let's go roller skating on the lawn. Let's put earmuffs on an ear of corn. Sing a song of nonsense, pocket full of rye. Let's see a show, but when we go we'll close one eye. I'm fond of ice cream, you scream and we all scream. Sing a song of nonsense, pocket full of fun. I'm fond of ice cream, you scream and we all scream.
Now, I was surprised to see you hobbling in halfway through that song. You're not usually late. What have you to say for yourself?
Well, I'm terribly sorry, but my mother bought me a new pair of boots yesterday, you see.
Oh, and they're too tight to let you walk, I suppose.
Oh, no, they're not too tight. But you see, she forgot to cut the string on the tabs before she gave them to me.
Did you catch anything when you went fishing the other day, eh?
Not a thing. I was fishing in the pool and the farmer who owned the land came along.
What happened?
Well, I asked him if it was against the law to fish there.
What did the farmer say?
He said, no, it's not against the law, but it's very much against common sense. You see, there's no fish in that pool.
Now, isn't there time for another song, then?
Surely, Let's have High Sailor. Uncle George will help us sing it. Ready, everyone? Here we go.
Have you seen a whaler? Call yourself a sailor, come on and follow me. It's fishy company, so haul your kit bag up aloft and we will go to sea. Hi, sailor, have you ever been aboard a whaler? When the hornpipe blows and away she goes and there ain't no land at sea. Hi, sailor, have you ever been aboard a whaler? When the fish come up and the ship goes down and they're eggs for tea. Sailing, sailing over the bounding main. Heave ho, up with the anchor chain. Hi, sailor, have you ever been aboard a whaler? When the hornpipe blows and away she goes and there ain't no land at sea.
Hi, sailor, have you ever been aboard a whaler? When the hornpipe blows and away she goes and there ain't no land at sea. Hi, sailor, have you ever been aboard a whaler? When the fish come up and the ship goes down and they all have cakes for tea. Sailing, sailing over the bounding main. Heave ho, up with the anchor chain. Hi, sailor, have you ever been aboard a whaler? When the hornpipe blows and away she goes and there ain't no land at sea.
Out with your pencils and paper. Here's our chief.
Greetings, my little Ovaltine friends. This afternoon I have a very special surprise for you. Many Ovaltines write to tell me of some outstanding thing they have done in the realms of sport and study, and I have heard of many acts of bravery, too, on the part of our League members. It always makes me very proud to hear of these things, and I've decided to award an Ovaltine Certificate of Merit to all members who are worthy of this high honor. So if you have done something extra special, say in the way of running, jumping, swimming, or unbroken attendance at school, or if you've done particularly well in your examinations, please write and tell me about it, and I will send you your Ovaltine Certificate of Merit, so that you can hang it in your room and tell all your friends just how you won it. And now, remember, I'll be expecting to receive quite a lot of letters this week telling me of your achievements. And now, I have good news for Ovaltines living in or near Chester. Commencing tomorrow, an Ovaltine concert party will be appearing for a week at the Royalty Theatre, Chester. They'll be giving a thoroughly entertaining performance. All members within reach of this theatre can see their favorites absolutely free of charge. But, and this is most important, so make a special note of it, each one of you must be accompanied by a grown-up relative or friend, and you, that is each Ovaltine, must present a disc from a tin of Ovaltine. The grown-up who is with you, not being a member of the League of Ovaltines, will, of course, pay the usual admission charge. Now, don't miss this opportunity of seeing your favorites. And now, for my message in our own secret code. Ready? First word, 46, 18, 28. Second word, 50, 30, 42, 36. And the last word, 6, 10, 36, 40, 18, 12, 18, 6, 2, 40, 10. Goodbye, my little Ovaltine friends.
And now the Ovaltines concert party will help initial letter S, our 12-year-old star, to sing Toy Town Wedding. Come along, S.
In a toy shop all is gay, for there's a wedding there today. The little toy bells they will chime, while the music box keeps time. At the Toy Town church they'll meet, and there's a rumor, so they say, that the little toy soldier, trim and neat, will give the bride away. There'll be little boy blue and the gollywogs too, and the wedding down in Toy Town, and little Bo Peep with a lot of perfume at the wedding down in Toy Town. Hickory Dock and his clock ticking at the wedding. 1, 2, 3, happy bee. 4, 5, 6, the ring will fix. Then a happy bridegroom in his coat of white plume at the wedding down in Toy Town, strutting with pride with his little doll bride at the wedding down in Toy Town. In the Noah's Ark horses neigh, for they'll be trotting on their way. A little carriage they will pull, with the presents packed up full. Cinderella looking cute, and Goody Two-Shoes feeling gay. When the little tin troops give their salute, you'll hear one big hooray. There'll be little boy blue and the gollywogs too, at the wedding down in Toy Town, and little Bo Peep with a lot of perfume at the wedding down in Toy Town. Dickory Dock and his clock ticking at the wedding. 1, 2, 3, happy bee. 4, 5, 6, the ring will fix. Then a happy bridegroom in his coat of white plume at the wedding down in Toy Town, strutting with pride with his little doll bride at the wedding down in Toy Town. Then a happy bridegroom in his coat of white plume at the wedding down in Toy Town, strutting with pride with his little doll bride at the wedding down in Toy Town.
And now here's something I'm sure you're all waiting for. The new story of the further adventures of Elsie, Winnie and Johnny. Our story is called The Talisman, and here's Elle who will tell you why.
Elsie, Winnie and Johnny Fortune, who have been spending a term at a boarding school while their parents are abroad in Australia. A cable has been received to say they are to proceed to Australia on a ship called the Superb. Just as they are leaving St. Eagle's School, where they have been the guests at a farewell party, old Brother Jim, the hermit who turned out to be Miss Steele's long-lost brother, gives Johnny an ancient ring. This ring is really a talisman, which means a kind of charm against evil and ill luck. It's said that this ring was brought back from the Crusades by a brave knight, and has been handed down through generations until Johnny has received it. And now we find the party aboard ship at Southampton, all ready for their 6 weeks' voyage. Now, here we go.
I'm excited. So am I. We'll be sailing in a few minutes. I wonder where Brother Jim is. Can you see him, Elsie? No, but he told us to wait here. He'll be back. He's... Oh, Brother Jim! Here we are!
I'm sorry I was so long, but a very strange thing has happened.
A strange thing? What is it?
I had all the luggage you wanted for the voyage put in Johnny's cabin until the steward had finished making up the cabin for you girls.
Yes, go on. What's happened?
Well, I went down to have a last look and saw a man crouching over the bunk on which I'd put the light cases.
Huh. Perhaps he was a steward.
Well, that's what I thought, but he was searching through the cases.
Oh, gracious. He must have been a robber.
He was. It was Alaska.
Alaska? What's that? Oh, why, Alaska's a place where it's all ice and snow.
No. I mean, the man was Alaska, a colored seaman.
Dear. I wonder what he wanted.
I'd like to know, too. I can't imagine what he hoped to find in children's luggage.
Well, what did you do?
I tried to seize him, but he was as slippery as an eel. He twisted out of my hands and was gone like a shot.
Did you tell the captain?
Yes, I reported it immediately, and he said he'd make inquiries. Still, I'm a little worried. You've a long way to go, and after this, I feel rather concerned about you traveling alone.
Oh, we'll be all right, Brother Jim. Johnny will protect us. Oh, that's right. I won't let anything happen to the girls.
All visitors are told. All visitors are told.
Well, that means I've got to say goodbye. Goodbye, Winnie, my dear. Be a good girl.
Goodbye, Brother Jim. And don't fall down any more stone steps.
Oh, I'll be careful not to do that, Winnie. Goodbye, Elsie.
Goodbye, Brother Jim. And good luck. Give my love to Miss Teal, won't
I
you?
will. Now, Johnny, my lad, do your duty bravely and look after your sisters.
I will, Brother Jim. Goodbye. You'd better hurry. They're loosening the gangway.
Goodbye, children. Goodbye. Goodbye, and a happy voyage.
Goodbye, Brother Jim. Goodbye. Goodbye. Listen, you girls. I'm going down below to the porthole in my cabin. It's just about level with the wharf, and I'll be able to wave goodbye better there. You stay here and wave. Now, let me see. My cabin's number 172. Now, which way is it? How do I get to my cabin? Is it on the right or the left? Ah, to the right. The numbers get smaller to the left. 165, 167, 170. Oh, here we are, 172. Gracious. There's someone in there again. I wonder if it's that Lascar. Oh, I'd better get a steward to help me. There's one. Hi, steward.
What is it, sir?
There's someone in my cabin again. Listen.
Well, you better open the door. And I'll rush in and collar the villain.
Right. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Got him. What do you think of that?
Oh, why, what is it? Let me see. Oh, it's a dog. Oh, what a little beauty. Here, come here, boy. Come here. I wonder how he got here.
I guess he's a stowaway.
Gosh, stowaway. What fun. Can I keep him?
Well, you have to see the skipper about that.
The skipper?
Yes, that's another name for the captain.
Johnny! Where are you? Oh, there you are. Oh, what's that? Oh, what a jolly little doggy. Oh, he likes me. Oh, whose is he, Johnny? He's a stowaway. And he's ours, if the skipper will let us keep him. Well, let's go and ask the skipper now, shall we? Good idea. Where is the captain, steward?
Well, you find the skipper upon the bridge, straight up on the deck, and ask where any of the officers...
Well, come on, Winnie. I'm coming. Come on, doggy. What should we call him, Johnny? Well, I think we'll call him Skipper after the captain. I heard one of the men say the captain was an old sea dog, and this pup is a young sea dog. So we'll call him Skipper. Come on. Let's go and ask if we can keep him.
Come on, doggy. Come on. Come on, doggy.
And so ends the first chapter of our new story, The Talisman.
I wonder if they'll be allowed to keep the dog.
I hope so. He sounds a jolly little fellow.
Can we have more music now, Em?
Surely. We'll sing our nonsense song called Such Funny Little Ways. Come along, Ovaltinis.
I went out one evening to a little picture house, saw the strange adventures of a funny little mouse. Everybody laughed so loud they made the rafters ring. When the picture finished, everyone began to sing.
He's got such funny little ways, funny little ways, funny little ways. He's got such funny little ways, but you can't help liking him, can you?
There's a little boy here who is sitting in the stalls. While we sang the chorus, he was sucking brandy balls. When his mother said, "Now sing," he bellowed like a bull. Just because his mother said, "Don't sing with your mouth full."
He's got such funny little ways, funny little ways, funny little ways. He's got such funny little ways, but you can't help liking him, can you?
Seated in the circle, there's a little girl I know, borrowed my big handkerchief, her little nose to blow. When I asked her for it back, she said our little Jim came without a handkerchief, so I've let yours to him.
He's got such funny little ways, funny little ways, funny little ways. He's got such funny little ways, but you can't help liking him, can you? He's got such funny little ways, funny little ways, funny little ways. He's got such funny little ways, but you can't help liking him, can you?
I say, Anne, can you tell me why they have fouls in football?
Why they have fouls in football? No, why, eh? Tell me.
Because they have ducks in cricket.
Talking about ducks, how did your uncle get on when he went shooting the other day?
Oh, fine. You know, he shot 25 ducks in one afternoon.
Were they wild?
Oh, no, but the man who owned them was.
Now, quiet, everyone. Auntie Mary has a beautiful little lullaby for all the small members of our league, and especially for our very tiny future members. It's called Hush, Here Comes the Dream Man.
The Dream Man's coming on a train of cars, with moonbeam windows and with wheels of stars. So kiss your mummies and kiss your pa's, and all aboard, you little ones. The railroad track, it is a rainbow bright. The drums ride up into the starry night. So come, you little ones, and have no fear. The man in the moon is the engineer. Hush, here comes the Dream Man. Hush, here comes the Dream Man. Now you children run up the stairs, put on your nighties and say your prayers. Ride with Mr. Dream Man till daylight comes again, and see all the wonders of Wonderland on a Dream Man's train.
Hush, here comes the Dream Man. Hush, here comes the Dream Man. Now you children run up the stairs, put on your nighties and say your prayers. Ride with Mr. Dream Man till daylight comes again, and see all the wonders of Wonderland on the Dream Man's train.
Now let's help Uncle George to sing The Funny Old Hills.
Oh, come on.
the foothills, beyond the plain, they love to echo my love refrain. I'm happy on the prairie all the day, singing lay-lee-o-lay, lay-lee-o-lay. And the funny old hills sing back and say, lay-lee-o, 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 lay, from far away. I got no gal, I got no pal to keep me company. Only God, the funny old hills singing along with me. But I'm happy and it's there I long to stay, singing lay-lee-o-lay, lay-lee-o-lay. While the funny old hills sing back to say, lay-lee-o, lay-lee-o, lay-lee-o-lay, from far away.
All the day, singing lady-o-lay, lady-o-lay. And the funny old hills sing back and say, lady-o, lady-o, lady-o-lay, from far away. Got no gal, got no pal to keep me company. Only got the funny old hills singing along with me. But I'm happy and it's there I long to stay, singing lay-lee-o-lay, lay-lee-o-lay. And the funny old hills sing back to say, lay-lee-o, lay-lee-o, lay-lee-o-lay, from far away. But I'm happy and it's there I long to stay, singing lady-o-lay. While the funny old hills sing back to say, lady-o, lady-o, lady-o-lay, from far away.
Now, any boy or girl who wishes to join the League of Ovaltinis should write to the Chief Ovaltini, 184 184 Queensgate, London, SW7, and he will enroll you as a member. All membership applications must contain the cardboard disc from the 1 and a penny or 1 and 10 penny tin of Ovaltine, or the paper slip from the 3 and 3 penny tin. And now the Ovaltinis concert party bid you goodbye in their own jolly, melodious way. But they'll be with you again next Sunday at the same time, 5:30.
And all the happy Ovaltines bid you, all of you. And don't forget your Ovaltine, it's very good for you. And we'll be here again next Sunday with songs and stories new. And so until we meet again, the Ovaltine bid you all adieu.
The makers of Campbell's Soups present The Campbell Playhouse. Orson Welles, producer. Good evening, everyone. This is Edwin C. Hill, and I bring you exciting news. Tonight, Orson Welles takes over the direction of the Campbell Playhouse.
and offers you as his first production America's bestseller, Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, with a great star, Margaret Sullivan. Exciting news indeed, for I am here to welcome the white hope of the American stage as the director and star of the Campbell Playhouse, who writes his own radio scripts and directs them and makes them live and breathe with the warmth of his genius. There is no time to adventure into the story of his life, and that's too bad, because it is a tale that combines the best features of Baron Munchausen and Alice in Wonderland. If ever a boy was born for an actor, he was. At 13, he was directing the troopers in the Todd School for Boys at Woodstock, Illinois, where he produced 30 plays. At 16, he was playing leading parts in Dublin at the famous Gate and Peacock and Abbey theaters. His American career is really too recent and too well known to recount here. He's been the leading man with Catherine Cornell. With John Houseman, he founded the Mercury Theater and has operated it with magical success. He had 4 hits last year on Broadway, which beats Noel Cowell's record From Here to Kalamazoo. And he's generally recognized today as being the most gifted stage director and actor of our time. His radio productions have attracted universal attention. His broadcasts of the War of the Worlds last month, which I dare say you remember, made radio history and a national sensation. Why did a fantastic story of an utterly imaginary invasion from Mars produce this totally unexpected result? The result, Mr. Wells, of course, greatly regretted. It was because, as in all his radio productions, Orson Welles is a master of realism, over the air, in radio, unique, exciting. He shocked you. He sent the cold shivers racing up your spine. But that is not the thing he does best, or best likes to do. He loves to tell a story, a great human story, welling up from the heart, brimming with deep and sincere emotion, and lively with comedy. And such are the stories, thrilling, delightful, amusing, he will bring to the Campbell Playhouse. And because of all his gifts, his genius at playwriting, his ambition, his dynamic direction, his amazing character acting, he has been selected by Campbell's as the ideal man to conduct the Campbell Playhouse. And so tonight, Orson Welles makes his bow as the outstanding program director of the air. And I have the very great pleasure of presenting him now, Mr. Orson Welles.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. It's a great big chance for me and a great big challenge. I have faith in radio, and the makers of Campbell Soups have enough confidence in me to give me the direction of the Campbell Playhouse. Let's hope nobody is mistaken.
Mr. Wells, could you tell us something of your aims, perhaps something of the kind of thing you hope to do with the Campbell Playhouse?
Well, everybody likes a good story, and I think radio is just about the best storyteller there is. The Campbell Playhouse is dedicated to the radio production of good stories. Stories from everywhere, from the stage, from moving pictures, and from literature. Next week, for example, we're doing a comedy, Call It a Day, and then Campbell's annual Christmas present to America, Lionel Barrymore in Dickens' immortal A Christmas Carol. And after that, there'll be Counselor at Law, a very human portrait of present-day people, Aerosmith by Sinclair Lewis with Helen Hayes, William Archer's The Green Goddess, Hector MacArthur's hilarious 20th Century. In other words, all kinds of stories, mostly modern, and all of them chosen for their suitability to this medium. That's about all, except I'm going to try to tell them just as well as I know how.
Well, I know you'll ring the bell.
You know, the makers of Campbell Soups don't believe in all this talk about the radio audience having the average mentality of an 8-year-old child. They think the radio listeners are same people that go to the pictures in the theater and read books. They reason that even the most popular radio entertainment should be addressed to the adult citizenry of America. I can only hope that what I do with the Campbell Playhouse will prove how much they mean it and how right they are.
I know it will. And now, just before you ring up the curtain on the first act, will you give us a word or two about the play?
Gladly, Mr. Hill, but if you'll pardon me, it's not a play, it's a story. You see, I think that radio broadcasting is different from motion pictures and the theater, and I'd like to keep it that way. The Campbell Playhouse is situated in a regular studio, not a theater. We have no curtain, real or imaginary, and as you see, no audience. There's only one illusion I'd like to create, the illusion of the story.
But the star, too, is important, Mr. Wells. Is that not so?
Oh, yes, indeed. And I'd like to say how very fortunate I am in having with me tonight the loveliness and the magic gift of Miss Margaret Sullivan. For Miss Sullivan is my first choice for a great part, and a great part it is, too. The most coveted of the season, the Scarlett O'Hara of 1938. the heroine of Daphne du Maurier's best-selling novel, Rebecca. Rebecca is going to be made into a movie by David Selznick. It ought to be one of the 10 best. It's this year's contender for the 5-foot shelf. Your best bet for anything from a weekend to a desert island, and it's a book you should read. The ideal Christmas gift to yourself. Miss du Maurier has flattered me with her confidence in permitting the Campbell Playhouse the great privilege of making for radio the first dramatization of her book. I'm meeting her for the first time tonight before this broadcast is over by special shortwave communication. She'll speak to us from London. So, ladies and gentlemen, and Miss du Maurier, the Campbell Playhouse is obediently yours.
The Campbell Playhouse presents Rebecca, starring Margaret Sullivan and Orson Welles.
We can never go back to Mandalay again. The past is still too close to us. The things we have tried to forget and put behind us would stir once more. But sometimes in my dreams I go to Mandalay again. I see the house, the gray stone shining in the moonlight of my dream. The terrace slopes to the lawns, and the lawns stretch to the sea, like a sheet of silver under the moon. Light comes from the windows. The curtains blow softly in the night air. And there in the library, the door stands half open, as if we had left it, with my handkerchief on the table beside the bowl of autumn roses, and the charred embers of our log fire still smoldering against the morning. I wonder what my life would be today if Mrs. Van Hopper hadn't been a snob.
Mandalay, my dear. Why, even you must have heard of Mandalay. That's Max de Witter at the table next to us, the man who owns Mandalay. They say he can't get over his wife's death, an appalling tragedy. The papers were full of it, of course. They say he never talks about it, never mentions her name. She was drowned, you know, in a bay near Mandalay.
Oh, Mrs. Van Hopper, I know he can hear you.
Nonsense, my dear. Go up to my room quickly and find that letter from my nephew. You know, the one written on his honeymoon with the snapshot? Bring it down to me right away.
Oh, Van Hopper, I don't
Go
really
on, my dear. Do as you're told. Don't argue. Hurry.
When I came down, she had him sitting beside her on the sofa. He looked like no other man I'd ever seen. A man out of a long, distant past.
Oh, there you are, my dear. This is Mr. De Winter. Mr. De Winter's having coffee with us.
How do you do?
You know I recognize you, Mr. De Winter, just as soon as you walked into the restaurant, and I thought, why, there's Mr. De Winter, Billy's friend. I simply must show him those snapshots of Billy and his bride taken on their honeymoon. Look, here are the snaps. Here they are sunbathing at Palm Beach. He met her at that party where I first met you at Claridge's in London. But I dare say you don't remember an old woman like me.
On the contrary, I remember you very well. Excellent snapshots. The bride's very pretty. I don't think I should care for Palm Beach.
Well, of course, if one had a home like Mandalay, I'm told Mandalay's like fairyland. There's no other word for it. I wonder you can ever bear to leave it. Mr. De Winter is so modest he won't admit it, but he has one of the loveliest homes in England. They say that the Minstrel's Gallery at Mandalay is a gem, and the gardens are simply the most perfect in the whole.
The next morning, Mrs. Van Hopper woke up with a sore throat and a temperature. At noon, I went down to the restaurant alone. I expected it to be empty. Nobody lunched generally before 1 o'clock. He was sitting at the table next to ours. I sat down looking straight before me. I unfolded my napkin and knocked over the vase of flowers on my table.
You can't sit at a wet tablecloth. Come on, get up. Waiter, the lady will have lunch with me.
No, I couldn't possibly.
Why not?
Well, you're being polite, but really...
I'm not being polite. I'd like you to have lunch with me.
You're very kind.
You don't believe me? Well, never mind. Come on, sit down. We needn't talk to each other unless we feel like it. Tell me your friend. She seems a good deal older than you. What is she, a relation? Have you known her long?
Oh, she isn't really a friend. She's an employer. You see, I'm what's called a companion. She pays me £90 a year.
I didn't know one could buy companionship. What do you do it for?
£90 is a lot of money.
How old are you?
19.
And you're not afraid of the future?
No.
Haven't you any family?
No, they're dead.
Well, then we've got a bond in common, you and I. We're both alone in the world. I have no companion. I shall have to congratulate Mrs. Van Hopper. You're cheap. £90 a year.
You forget. You have a home, and I have none.
An empty house, my dear, can be as lonely as a full hotel. Trouble is that it's less impersonal.
I remember the feel of the leather seats in his car as we drove in the afternoons along the Mediterranean. I remember still my ill-fitting flannel suit and how the skirt was lighter than the coat. I remember now, glancing at my watch, I would think to myself, this moment now at 20 minutes past 3, this must never be lost. Never.
You're a very silent companion. What are you thinking?
I wish I were a woman of about 36, dressed in black satin with a string of pearls.
You wouldn't be in this car with me if you were.
Mr. De Winter, you're going to think me impertinent and rude, I dare say. But I would like to know why you asked me to come out in the car day after day. You're being kind, that's obvious, but why do you choose me for your charity?
Because you're not dressed in black satin with a string of pearls, nor are you 36.
You know, it's not fair. You know everything there is to know about me. That's not much, I admit, because I haven't been alive very long and nothing very much has happened to me, except people dying. But you, I know nothing more about you than I did when we met.
What'd you know then?
Well, that you lived at Mandalay and that you had lost your wife.
Yes. My memories are bitter. I prefer to ignore them. Something happened to me a year ago that altered my whole life, and I want to forget my existence up to that time. Those days are finished. They're blotted out. I want to begin living all over again.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You've been so kind to me. I didn't mean to remind you
Curse your puritanical, tight-lipped little speeches and talk about kindness and charity. I asked you to come with me because I want you in your company, and if you don't believe me, you can leave the car now and find your own way home. Go on. Open the door and get out. Well, what are you going to do about it?
Please, drive me home.
Well, suppose you're young enough to be my daughter. I don't know how to deal with you. Forget all I said to you just now. That's all finished and done with. Don't let's ever think of it again. My family used to call me Maxim. I'd like you to do the same. You've been formal long enough. What do you want? Something the matter?
I've come to say goodbye. We're going this morning.
Come in. Shut the door. What are you talking about?
It's true. We're leaving today. I was afraid I wouldn't see you. I felt I must see you again to thank you.
Why didn't you tell me this before?
Well, Mrs. Van Hopper only decided today. Her daughter sails for New York on Saturday, and we're going with her.
She's taking you with her to New York?
Yes, and I don't want to go. I shall hate it. I shall be miserable.
Well, why in heaven's name go? Sit down with me while I eat my breakfast. Have you had yours?
Yes, I really haven't time. I ought to be downstairs now, getting the tickets.
You can sit with me for 5 minutes.
Oh, I shouldn't.
So, Mrs. Van Hopper's had enough of Monte Carlo. Now she wants to go home. So do I. She to New York, I to Mandalay. Which would you prefer? Take your choice.
Please don't make a joke about it. It's unfair.
If you think I'm one of those people who tries to be funny before breakfast, you're wrong. I repeat, the choice is open to you. Either you go to America with Mrs. Van Hopper, or you come home to Mandalay with me.
Do you mean you want a secretary or something?
No. I'm asking you to marry me, you little fool.
I don't understand. I'm not the sort of person men marry.
What the devil do you mean?
I'm not sure. I don't think I know how to explain. I don't belong to your sort of world.
What is my world?
Well, Mandalay. You know what I mean.
You think I'm asking you to marry me for the same reason you thought I took you out in the car. To be kind, don't you?
Yes.
One day you may realize that philanthropy is not one of my strongest qualities. Are you going to marry me? My suggestion doesn't seem to have gone too well. I'm sorry. I rather thought you loved me.
I do love you. I love you dreadfully. I've been crying all morning because I thought I should never see you again.
So that's settled then. Instead of being companion to Mrs. Van Hopper, you become mine. And your duties will be almost exactly the same. I also like new library books and flowers in the drawing room and someone to pour my tea. Oh, I'm being rather a brute to you, aren't I? This isn't your idea of a proposal. We ought to be in a conservatory with you in a white frock with a rose in your hand and a violin playing a waltz in the distance. Poor darling, what a shame. Never mind. I'll take you to Venice for our honeymoon and we'll hold hands in a gondola. But we won't stay too long because I want to show you Mandalay.
Mandalay.
Now then, am I going to break the news to Mrs. Van Hopper, or are you?
Oh, no, you tell her. She'll be so angry.
I'll tell her. I'm not afraid. You wait for me here.
When he had gone, I looked around his room. There was a book on the table near his bed. I picked it up. On the title page was a dedication. Max. From Rebecca. May 17. Written in a curious, slanting hand. The ink had run too thick, so that the name Rebecca stood out black and strong. Rebecca. Rebecca.
We pause now on our Campbell Playhouse presentation of Rebecca. In just a moment, we will resume the story. But first, here is my associate of long standing, Ernest Chappell, with an important message.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. The time was, and it was not so long ago, when chicken was a rare and special treat. What magic the words chicken for dinner conjured up in our young minds, and how we looked forward to these great events. With proud gusto, Father would dexterously separate wings and legs and then carve tender white slices from the breast, while each of us silently prayed to be granted his special favorite part. And then on the second day, there came another treat. The remaining meat in the carcass went into Mother's soup kettle, to be simmered slowly, seasoned gently, and served forth as a supper-time delight. Today, if you have wistful memories of that glorious old home chicken soup, then Campbell's chicken soup is just made for you. Because Campbell's chefs follow faithfully the good home recipe, only changing it to make an even better soup. They use, for example, all the good meat of the chickens, fine, plump chickens they are, too, such as you'd choose proudly for your own table. Such chicken soup with snowy rice and tender chicken pieces is a special treat indeed, but one you may enjoy on any day. Your grocer has Campbell's chicken soup, and it's yours for the asking. Remember, Campbell's chicken soup.
Now we return to the Campbell Playhouse presentation of Rebecca with Margaret Sullivan and Orson Welles.
We came to Mandalay in early May. There it was, the Mandalay I had expected, lovelier than I'd ever dreamed, built in its hollow of smooth grassland and mossy lawns, terraces sloping to the gardens, and the gardens to the sea. A servant was standing on the steps waiting, an old man with a kind face.
Well, here we are, Fritz. Feeling well?
Yes, thank you, sir. Glad to see you home, sir, and hope you've been keeping well. And Madam, too.
Yes, we're both well. Thank you, Fritz. All the time from the drive wanting our tea. Hello, Jasper, old man. earth? Who are all these people? Oh, the servants. I didn't expect this.
Mrs. Danvers' orders, sir.
Danvers? I might have guessed it. Come on, darling. Mrs. Danvers was Rebecca's housekeeper. She simply adored her. They're all curious to see what you're like. You won't mind, will you? It'll soon be over. My dear, this is Mrs. Danvers.
Mrs. Danvers took me to my room. She was a tall, gaunt woman dressed in black, with prominent cheekbones and great hollow eyes that gave her skull's face, parchment white, set on a skeleton's frame. Her eyes never left mine.
Mandalay is a big place, madam. Not so big as some, of course, but big enough. And a show place. Mr. De Winter lets the public in to see it once a month.
You can't see the sea from here, can you?
No, not from this room. You can't even hear it. You did not know the sea was anywhere near. Not from this room.
I'm sorry about that. I like the sea.
Mr. De Winter gave special orders in his letter that you would have this room, madam.
Oh, then this was not his room originally.
No, madam. He's never used the rooms in this wing before.
Oh, he didn't tell me that. I suppose you've been at Mandalay for many years, Mrs. Danvers. Longer than anyone else.
I came here when the first Mrs. De Winter was a bride.
Mrs. Danvers, you must have patience with me because this sort of life is new to me. You must just go on running things as they always have been run. I shan't want to make any changes.
You're here to carry out your orders, madam. I hope I shall do everything to your satisfaction. Can I do anything more for you now?
Oh, no, thank you, no. I'm sure I have everything. I shall be very comfortable here. You've made the room so charming.
I only followed out Mr. De Winter's instructions. Of course, the most beautiful rooms are in the west wing, overlooking the sea. The bedroom is twice as large as this, and the windows look down across the lawns into the sea.
I suppose Mr. De Winter keeps the most beautiful rooms to show to the public.
Those rooms are never shown to the public. They used to live in those rooms when Mrs. De Winter was alive. That big room I was telling you about that looks down to the sea, that was Mrs. De Winter's room.
Next morning, there was a heavy mist. It poured in through the open window. When I came down to breakfast, Maxim had already gone out.
Mrs. De Winter.
Yes, Fred.
Mr. De Winter told me to tell you, madam, that he'd gone out with Mr. Crawley. Mr. Frank Crawley is Mr. De Winter's friend who manages the estate. Mr. De Winter said to tell you they'd be back for luncheon at 1.
Thank you. Oh, Fred.
Yes, madam?
It seems rather cold this morning. I wonder if you'd please light the fire in the library for me.
The fire in the library is not usually lit until the afternoon, madam. Mrs. De Winter always used the morning room. She always did her telephoning and correspondence in there after breakfast. There's a good fire in there. If you should wish to have a fire in the library as well.
Oh, no. I wouldn't dream of it. I'll go into the morning room. Thank you, Fred.
If you will allow me, madam, I will show you the way.
This was a woman's room. Graceful, fragile. The room of someone who had chosen every particle of furniture with great care. That is strange and startling kind of perfection. I opened a drawer at hazard, and there was a letter addressed to Mrs. M. De Winter.
Mrs. De Winter. Mrs. De Winter?
Who is it? What do you want?
Mrs. De Winter?
I'm afraid you've made a mistake. Mrs. De Winter has been dead for over a year.
It's Mrs. Danvers, madam. Mrs. Danvers. I'm speaking to you on the house telephone. It's about the menu. It's Mrs. Danvers speaking, madam.
After lunch, it was still raining. Frank Crawley and Maxim were in the library working. I got a raincoat out of the flower room and started out across the garden down towards the sea. Soon I was in the woods. The dog ran on ahead. The woods came right down to the water. At the fringe was a long, low building, half cottage, half boathouse. There was a buoy anchored there in the cove, but no boat. And there was Jasper wagging his tail at a solitary figure on the beach. As I drew near, I saw that the figure on the beach was a man with the small slit eyes of an idiot and a red, wet mouth.
Good day. Dirty, Ines.
I'm afraid it's not very nice weather. Jasper, come here.
Digging for shell. No shell here. Been digging all day.
I'm sorry you can't find any.
That's right. No shell here.
Come on, Jasper, good dog. Come on.
He won't go.
Why not?
He ain't your dog.
No, he's Mr. De Winter's dog. I want to take him back to the house. Come on, Jasper. Come along, good dog.
She ain't been here lately.
What do you mean?
The other one. You're not like the other one.
What do you mean? What other one?
Tall and dark, she was. She give you the feeling of a snake. By night she come down to the cove. I seen it. I looked in on her once here in the boathouse. And she turned on me, she did. If I catch you looking at me through the window, she'll have you put in asylum, she said. I won't say nothing, ma'am, I said, and I touched my cap like this here. She's gone now, ain't she?
I don't know what you mean.
She's gone in the sea, ain't she? She won't come back no more.
No, she'll not come back.
You won't put me in asylum, will you? I never said nothing, did I? I never said nothing, ma'am. I never said nothing. I never said nothing.
Where did you get that piece of string?
I got it for Jasper. He ran away. I found it in the cottage on the beach.
Is the door open?
I pushed it open. The string was in the other room where the sails were.
Oh, I see. That cottage is supposed to be locked. The door has no business to be open. Did Ben tell you the door was open?
Ben?
Oh, never mind.
Maxim.
Yes, what is it?
I'm sorry I went down to the cove. If you didn't want me to go.
What makes you think I didn't want you to go down there?
Maxim, how should I know? I'm not a thought reader. I know you didn't want me to go. That's all. I could see it in your face.
See what in my face?
I've already told you I can see that you didn't want me to go.
You're quite right. I did not want you to go down to the cove. Will that please you? I never go near the place. If you had my memories, you wouldn't want to go there either, or talk about it, or even think about it. There. I hope that satisfied you.
Please, Maxim, please.
What's the matter?
I don't want you to look like that. Please, Maxim, let's forget all we said. I'm sorry, darling. Please let everything be all right.
We ought to have stayed in Italy. We ought never to have come back to Mandalay. I was a fool to come back.
The weather that May was wet and cold. From the terrace I could hear the murmur of the sea below me, low and sullen. And every morning a heavy fog would come rolling in from the sea. I could not forget that cottage on the beach and the white, lost look in Maxim's eyes. Somewhere at the back of my mind, a frightened, furtive seed of curiosity grew slowly and stealthily. Frank Crawley was in the library taking tea with me, waiting for Maxim to get home. There were things that I had to know.
You've been down to the cove, then?
Yes, Frank. Frank, in that cottage down there, are those all Rebecca's things?
Yes.
I wondered. Why is the buoy there in the little harbor place?
The boat used to be moored there.
What boat?
Her boat.
Oh. What happened to it? Oh, was that the boat she was sailing when she was drowned?
Yes. It capsized and sank. She was washed overboard.
Couldn't someone have got out to her?
Nobody saw the accident. Nobody knew she'd gone. She often sailed alone at night.
How long afterwards was it they found her?
Oh, about 2 months.
Where did they find her?
Near Edgecombe. About 40 miles up channel.
How did they know it was she? After 2 months, how could they tell?
Maxim went up to Edgecombe to identify her.
Oh. Frank, I know what you're thinking. You can't understand why I ask all these questions just now. You think I'm being morbid and curious, but it's not that, I promise you. Only when I go to call on all these people, his friends, I know they're looking me up and down and thinking, what on earth does Maxim see in her? Always I know that whenever I meet anyone new, they say how different she is from Rebecca. Frank,
Yes?
there's just one more thing, one question I must ask you. Will you promise to answer it quite truthfully?
I'll do my best.
Tell me, was Rebecca very beautiful?
Yes. Yes, I suppose she was the most beautiful creature I ever saw in my life.
Here it is, madam. This is it. One moment while I turn on the light. Come in, madam.
Was this her room, Mrs. Danvers?
Yes, ma'am, this is her room. Now you're here, let me show you everything. I know you want to see it all. You've wanted to for a long time. It's a lovely room, isn't it? The loveliest room you've ever seen. I haven't touched a thing. There are flowers on the dressing table, and that's her bed. It's a beautiful bed, isn't it? Here's her nightdress. This was the nightdress she was wearing for the last time before she died. Would you like to touch it? Feel it. Hold it. I did everything for her, you know. You look after me better than anyone, Danny, she used to say. I wouldn't have anyone but you. See? Here's her wardrobe. What's the matter, madam? Aren't you feeling well?
I'm all right. I didn't expect to see all the things this way.
I believe Mr. De Winter liked her to wear silver mostly. But of course, she could wear anything. She looked beautiful in this velvet. Put it against your face. It's soft, isn't it? Scent is still as fresh as though she'd just taken it off. These are her slippers. Put your hands inside the slippers. They're quite small and narrow, aren't they? When they found her, the rocks had battered her to bits so no one could recognize her. You know now why Mr. De Winter doesn't use these rooms anymore. He hasn't used these rooms since the night she was drowned. I come up every day and dust them myself. If you want to come again, you have only to tell me. Sometimes, when Mr. De Winter is away and you feel lonely, you might like to come up to these rooms and sit here. They're such beautiful rooms. You wouldn't think she'd been gone now for so long, would you? You'd think she'd just gone out for a little while and would be back in the evening. Do you think she can see us talking to one another now? Do you think the dead come back and watch the living?
I don't know. I don't know.
Sometimes I wonder if she comes back to Manderley and watches you and Mr. De Winter, you sitting in her chair in the library before the fire, stroking her dog, talking to her husband.
Stop it! Stop it!
It's no use, is it? You can't do it. You'll never get the better of her. She's still mistress here, even if she is dead. She's the real Mrs. De Winter, not you. It's you that's the shadow and the ghost. It's you that's forgotten and not wanted and pushed aside. Well, why don't you leave Manderley to her? Why don't you go?
What do you mean?
Why don't you go? None of us want you. He doesn't want you. He never did. He can't forget her. He wants to be alone in the house again with her. It's you who ought to be dead, not Mrs. De Winter. Come here now to the window. Let me show you something. When the window's open, you can hear the sea down there. Look down there. Look.
Let me go.
Don't be afraid. I won't push you. But there's not much for you to live for here at Manderley. Why don't you jump now and have done with it? Then you won't be unhappy anymore. Why don't you try? Go on. Go on. Don't be afraid. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on.
And so we end the second part of our presentation of Daphne du Maurier's best-selling book, Rebecca, with Margaret Sullivan and Orson Welles. In a few moments, we shall return you to the Campbell Playhouse.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is Edwin C. Hill again bidding you welcome to the Campbell Playhouse on behalf of the makers of those fine Campbell soups. In a moment or two, we shall resume our presentation of Rebecca, the best-selling novel by Daphne du Maurier, and starring, as I've said, Margaret Sullivan and Orson Welles. And also, we shall hear from Miss du Maurier herself, direct by shortwave from London. But first, I bring you a message. For many years, I've been interested in the human side of the news. As a newspaper reporter for all those years, I've found that there's a very human side to business. And that is what I want to speak about for just a moment or so. All of us are familiar with businesses which provide us with something to eat or drink or wear, or we buy a radio or a suit of clothes or a can of soup. But the actual thing we buy is about the only contact we ever have with the people who make such goods. But the character of those people is of vital importance. If the manufacturer of a product is honorable in the conduct of his business, his product will be as trustworthy as his word. For in business, as in every walk of life, honesty pays real dividends. Honest enterprise is the only kind which has a chance to win and to hold the patronage of intelligent and discriminating buyers, whether it's a matter of a piano or a spool of thread or a trip to Europe or a can of soup. And that, as I see it, is the human side of business, of the products that last over the years, that serve you well and merit your confidence. I know the Campbell kitchens, the Campbell men, the Campbell soup. The fact that these soups are used more and more every year in most homes and are sold in more than 460,000 grocery stores throughout the land is no accident, believe me. It's due to the human side of this business, its aims, its policies, and its character. And now to the Campbell Playhouse, where we resume our story, Rebecca.
Go on. Why don't you jump now and have done with it? Why don't you try? Go on. Don't be afraid. Jump. Go on.
Mrs. Danvers was close behind me now, her hand on my arm. And before me was the open window and the white mist coming in from the sea.
Go on.
I shut my eyes. The mist lay upon my lips, rank and sour. My head began to swim. Then suddenly the mist had parted. There was a flash in the sky.
Hey there! Ship and shore! The rocket! Ship ashore! Ship ashore! Ship
Later, I went down to the beach. There was a large ship on the reef, half a mile offshore, with her bows pointed towards the cliffs. There were a number of small boats around her, and a Coast Guard cutter lying alongside.
I hear the rocket. There's first two of them one. Both broke the windows.
You look like a Dutchman, I say.
German or Dutch?
Good thing there's no sea running. That shallow water she's in.
Is she fast?
I don't know yet.
There's a diver come over from Kerry. He be going down to see if she'd broken her back.
She's on a reef. She's a goner.
Have you seen Mr. De Winter?
Not today, ma'am.
Good day,
Have you
ma'am.
seen Mr. De Winter?
Mr. De Winter? Yes, ma'am. He was one of the first down here after the rockets went.
He were down by the cove, had the dog with him.
Do you know where he is now?
He went off to Kerry 20 minutes ago with one of the crew that were injured.
Oh, thank you. Good day.
Good day, Mum.
Good day, ma'am.
I went back to Mandalay the long way through the woods. The fog had cleared. I looked down and saw the stranded ship offshore. The diver must have come up, for I saw a little group of people on the deck of the boat alongside, leaning over, staring into the water.
There's a man waiting to see you, madam. He says it's important. He asked for Mr. De Winter first, and then for you. He's in the library.
Who is it with?
He says his name's Captain Searle, madam, the harbour master from Kerrith.
Oh, yes, I'll go in and talk to him.
Yes, madam.
Mrs. De Winter?
I'm sorry my husband isn't back yet.
I know. I can't get hold of Mr. Crawley either. The fact is, I've got some news for Mr. De Winter, and I hardly know how to break it to him.
What sort of news, Captain Searle?
Well, Mrs. De Winter, it isn't very pleasant for me to tell you either. We're all very fond of Mr. De Winter around here. It's hard on him and hard on you that we can't let the past lie quiet.
Yes, go on.
Well, you know, we sent the diver down to inspect that ship there on the reef. Well, while he was down there, he came across something else. The hull of a little sailing boat lying on her side, not broken up at all. He recognized it at once. That boat belonged to the late Mrs. De Winter.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it necessary to tell Mr. De Winter? Couldn't the boat be left there as it is? It's not doing anybody any harm, is it?
The cabin door was tightly closed, and the ports were closed, too. The diver broke one of the windows with a stone from the seabed and looked into the cabin. And then he got the fright of his life. There was a body in there, lying on the cabin floor. Now you understand why I have to see your husband, Mrs. De Winter.
It's all over now. The thing has happened.
What thing?
The thing I've always foreseen. The thing I've dreamt about day after day, night after night. We're not meant for happiness, you and I.
What are you trying to tell me?
Rebecca has won. I remember her eyes as she looked at me before she died. I remember that slow, treacherous smile. She knew this would happen even then. She knew she'd win in the end.
Maxim, what are you saying? What are you trying to tell me?
Her boat, they found it. The diver found it this afternoon.
I know. Captain Searle was here and he told me. You're thinking about the body the diver found in the cabin.
Yes.
It means she wasn't alone. It means there was someone out sailing with Rebecca at the time, and you have to find out who it was.
There was no one with Rebecca. She was alone. It's Rebecca's body lying there on the cabin floor.
No.
The woman I identified wasn't Rebecca. There never was an accident. Rebecca was not drowned at all. I killed her. I shot Rebecca in the cottage down in the cove. I carried her body to the cabin and took the boat and sunk it there, where they found it today. It's Rebecca who's lying dead there on the cabin floor. Will you look into my eyes and tell me that you love me now?
Oh, darling, we can't lose each other now. We've got to be together always, with no secrets, no shadows. Please, darling, please.
There's no time. We may have a few hours, a few days. How can we be together now that this has happened? I've told you they found the boat. They found Rebecca.
What will you do?
I don't know.
Does anyone know? Anyone at all?
No.
No one but you and me.
No one but you and me.
Oh, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? The time we wasted when we might have been together. All these weeks, all these days.
You were so aloof. You never came to me like this. You were strange with me. Awkward, shy.
How could I come to you when I knew you were thinking about Rebecca? How could I ask you to love me when I knew you loved Rebecca still? Whenever you spoke to me or looked at me, I felt you were saying to yourself, this I did with Rebecca, and this, and this.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
It was true, wasn't it?
You thought I loved Rebecca? You thought I killed her? Loving her? I tell you, I hated her. Our marriage was a farce from the very first. She was vicious, damnable, rotten through and through. We never loved each other. We never had one moment of happiness together. Rebecca was incapable of love, of tenderness, of decency. She knew how I loved Mandalay. She knew how to hurt me most. She stood there that night in the cottage in the cove, smiling at me. I'm going to have a child, she said. It will grow up here at Mandalay, bearing your name. That's a joke, isn't it? And when you die, Mandalay will be his. You can't prevent it. Have you ever thought how hard it would be for you to make a case against me in a court of law, I mean, if you wanted to divorce me? We've acted the parts of a loving husband and wife rather too well, haven't we? They'll be happy, won't they? All those smug friends of yours, all your blasted tenants, thinking it's your child. It's what we've always hoped for, Mrs. De Winter, they'll say. I'll be the perfect mother, Max, just as I've never been the perfect wife. And none of them will ever guess. None of them will ever know. She turned and faced me, smiling. Then I killed her. She was smiling still. I fired at her heart. She didn't fall at once. She stood there, looking at me, that slow smile on her face, her eyes wide open.
You have heard all the testimony in this case, gentlemen. You have heard how the body of the deceased was found in the cabin of her boat. You have heard the testimony of the boat builder. You have heard Mr. De Winter's story. You have heard how on the night of the tragedy, Mrs. De Winter went down to the cottage where she was in the habit of staying. Gentlemen, how do you find?
The verdict is suicide. Suicide without sufficient evidence to show the state of mind of the deceased.
Court is adjourned.
It was almost dark when we started for Mandalay. He held my hand in his. He didn't speak for a long time. I must have dozed, for I woke suddenly with a start and heard the first sound of thunder in the air. The air was hot against my face. No rain fell.
What is it, darling?
Maxim, don't drive so fast.
I want to get home. I'm worried. I have a premonition of disaster.
When everything's over, I don't understand.
I want to get home. I want to get back to Mandalay.
What time is it?
Almost 9.
It's funny. It looks almost as though the sun was still setting over there beyond those hills. Can't be, though. It's too late.
It's the wrong direction. You're looking east.
Why, yes. It's funny, isn't it? It's in winter you see the northern lights, isn't it? Not in summer.
That's not the northern lights you're looking at. That's Mandalay.
Maxim, what is it?
I don't know.
Maxim, look. A fire. Maxim, it's Mandalay. It's burning. Mandalay is burning. We have both known fear and loneliness and very great distress. But we have come through our crisis. Of course, we have our moments of depression. But there are other moments, too, when time, unmeasured by the clock, runs on into eternity. And catching Maxim's smile, I know we are together at last. No barrier between us. We can never go back to Mandalay again. The past is still too close to us. But sometimes in my dreams I go to Mandalay. I see the gray stone shining in the moonlight. Light comes from the windows. The curtains blow softly in the night air. And in the library, the door stands half open as if we had left it, with my handkerchief on the table beside the bowl of autumn roses. and the charred embers of our log fire still smoldering against the morning.
So ends our story. The Campbell Playhouse presentation of Daphne du Maurier's novel Rebecca. In a moment, I shall bring you Margaret Sullivan and Orson Welles in person, and Daphne du Maurier on the long-distance phone from London. In the meantime, here's a man with a message worth hearing. A man who keeps one eye on the dining table and the other on the pantry. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Ernest Chappell.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. May I remind you once again of that grand dish, Campbell's Chicken Soup? Remember what I told you about it and make it a point to try it soon. Because until you taste your first glorious spoonful, you're really missing something. Imagine a rich golden broth slowly simmered from plump and perfect chickens, simmered with all the patience and skill of the most particular home cook. And imagine an abundance of selective rice, white and fluffy, drifting all through the broth, every grain saturated with its delicious flavor. Then add tender pieces of chicken meat, each a delight to your taste, and you have a picture of Campbell's Chicken Soup. But only tasting can really tell you how good it is. Why not plan to have Campbell's Chicken Soup tomorrow? You'll please the family and, incidentally, make a busy day a little easier for yourself.
And now, here's Orson Welles.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Rebecca is standing beside me at the microphone. I'd like to tell her that one of my favorite characters in modern fiction was tonight forever endowed with the personality of Miss Margaret Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. I hope that the novelist approved of me, too. I want you to know how much I've appreciated playing once more with the Campbell Playhouse tonight, especially in this story, which is one of my favorites.
Yes, it is a grand story, and I do believe the most important factor of radio entertainment is a good story.
I quite agree, too. You know, two things I like very much are good stories and good soup. And when I tell you my idea of a great soup is Campbell's Chicken Soup, that, Mr. Wells, is no story.
I'm glad you feel that way. Nice of you to say so.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Wells, I'd like to ask you a question.
It's very kind of you.
Can you tell me the name of the character?
Will you repeat that question?
What is the name of the character I just played?
Well, that's the major literary mystery of the year. Seriously, she hasn't any name. And our audience, Miss Sullivan, is probably just as curious as you are. And I haven't the answer.
Well, Mr. Maurier must know it. She's phoning us from London in a few minutes, so we'll ask her.
You know, Miss Sullivan, there's a question I'd like to ask you.
Yes, Mr. Wells?
Until rehearsal started for tonight's performance, I had never, to put it very bluntly, had the pleasure of your acquaintance.
Yes?
And, well, now, in 6½ minutes, Miss Sullivan, you'll have gone out of my life. The point is, I am the director of a theater,
The Mercury Theater.
The Mercury Theater. Thanks. What I started to say was that I'd like to know you better. What are you doing next year?
Are you speaking as a director?
Yes, Mrs. Hayward, as a theater director, if you can be tempted.
Have you a script for me?
I'll bring it to you tomorrow. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you'll forgive me for trying to date up one of the nation's most gifted and attractive young actresses. I'm sure you sympathize, and I hope Miss Sullivan understands.
We are ready with London, Mr. Wells.
Oh, thanks. Are you ready, London?
Good evening, Mr. Wells.
Good evening, Mr. Moyer.
It's nearly 3 o'clock here in London. It's not often that an author has the chance of hearing the voices of her own characters speaking to her from across the Atlantic Ocean. I've enjoyed it enormously.
Thank you. And Mr. Moyer, may I present Miss Sullivan?
How do you do, Miss Sullivan? I'd like to thank you and Mr. Wells for your splendid interpretation of Mr. and Mrs. De Winter.
Thank you. It's been a great privilege. Mr. Maurier, there are 2 questions I'd like to ask you. Your descriptions of Mandalay are so vivid that America is curious to know if there is anywhere in England a house on a state like Mandalay.
When you next come to London, Miss Sullivan, get into a train at Thurdington Station and travel west. When you've been 250 miles, get out of that train and walk southeast for half an hour. You'll come to some iron gates, a lodge, and a narrow, twisting drive. If you ever find your way to the end of that drive, you may discover Mandalay.
One thing more, Mr. Moyer. Can you tell us the name of the heroine of Rebecca? You haven't named her in the book.
Thank you very much, Miss Sullivan, and thank you, Mr. Wells, for your production of Rebecca. It's been very nice speaking to you both.
Well, Miss Sullivan, I'm afraid that doesn't answer your question. Hello, Mr. Moyer. Mr. Moyer. Mr. Moyer. London off the honest Chapman.
Yes, it is, Mr. Wells.
Pardon me, Miss Sullivan, but all we can salvage from the silence overseas is this cryptogram just brought in to Mr. Chappell by Carrier Pigeon. Would you care to read it?
Inter-office memo from Daphne du Maurier to Margaret Sullivan. The name of the heroine of Rebecca is Mrs. Max de Winter.
Thank you, Miss Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Next week, Miss Beatrice Lilly interrupts her rehearsals of Noel Coward's new musical to be my wife and call it a day. This is a discreet account by Miss Doty Smith of some indiscretions committed one bonny day in April by a nice family who might just as well be living next door to you, and you, and you. It is a composite case history in 3 stages and 6 symptoms of that perilous and delightful malady known so well to you, and you, and you, and me as spring fever. Until then, my sponsor and I, and all of us in the Campbell Playhouse, remain obediently yours.
Tonight's broadcast was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, starring Margaret Sullivan and Orson Welles. Featured were Mildred Natwick as Mrs. Danvers, Ray Collins as Frank Crawley, and George Coulouris as Captain Searle. Frank Reddick was heard as the idiot, Alfred Shirley as Frith, Eustace Wyatt as the coroner, and Agnes Moorehead as Mrs. Van Hopper. Music for the Campbell Playhouse is composed and conducted by Bernard Herrmann.
The makers of Campbell's Soups invite you to join us again next Friday evening at this same time, when Orson Welles will present his production of Dodie Smith's delightful excursion into the private lives of a typical suburban family. Call It a Day, one of the most successful comedies of its type, which was originally presented on Broadway by the Theater Guild. Our guest on this program will be the always charming and amusing Beatrice Lilly, with Jane Wyatt, a young lady who's marching quite swiftly along the road to motion picture fame out in Hollywood, and Gene Dante, who created the part of Anne in the original New York production of Call It a Day. This is Edwin C. Hill speaking for Campbell Soups. I thank you and good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The makers of Campbell's Soups invite you to join us again next Friday evening at this same time, when Orson Welles will present his production of Dodie Smith's delightful excursion into the private lives of a typical suburban family. Call It a Day, one of the most successful comedies of its type, which was originally presented on Broadway by the Theater Guild. Our guest on this program will be the always charming and amusing Beatrice Lillie, with Jane Wyatt, a young lady who's marching quite swiftly along the road to motion picture fame out in Hollywood, and Gene Dante, who created the part of Anne in the original New York production of Call It a Day. This is Edwin C. Hill speaking for Campbell Soups. I thank you and good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Now for radio's most lovable family, the Goldbergs, brought to you by Procter & Gamble, makers of Oxidol. And now about Oxidol for washing dishes. You'll find it's one of the fastest dishwashing soaps you ever had, and this is why. With Oxidol, you don't have to let dishes stand and soak as you do with slow-acting soaps. Just whip up those thick, rich Oxidol suds and put your dishes in. For Oxidol, by actual test, cuts grease 25% faster than ordinary soap, which means you don't have to change your dishwashing habits to use Oxidol. No, man. You wash them just the same as you always have, only you get more suds with Oxidol and you get the grease cut quicker. You see the dishes come out clear and shiny. And when they're rinsed and ready for drying, you don't have to rub and polish them clean because Oxidol leaves no greasy soap film on dishes the way other soaps can do. That's because Oxidol dissolves completely. Every last particle goes into thick, hard-working suds. And when a soap doesn't dissolve like this, doesn't go entirely into suds, you'll find it leaves a greasy soap film on your dishes. The sort of thing you have to get off with extra hot rinsing water and then polish and rub off with the dish towel. Remember this the next time you wash dishes. Use Oxidol and get them clean 25% faster than you're used to with ordinary soaps. Get every glass, dish, and knife and fork spotlessly clean and shiny with none of the old-time greasy soap film to scrub off on your dish towel. All of which means you save time in doing dishes and get better results, too. Try Oxidol, spelled Oxydol, tonight and see for yourself. And now, the Goldbergs. Friday, Molly Goldberg proposed a plan to the ladies of Glastonbury for creating a security fund in case the mill their husbands are opening fails. The plan is to sell flower seeds. The seeds are to come from California, where Mr. Cuney, Molly's boarder, has a friend in the business. The women were wildly enthusiastic about the plan. In fact, decided to name the seeds in Molly's honor. But before the seeds can be sold, they've got to be bought and paid for. And where's the money to come from? Everyone has put their last few dollars in the mill. Listen.
What time does the last mail leave, Sammy?
Well, you have to get your mail at the post office at least an hour before train time.
Sammy, you're sure Mr. Cunis said that today was the last?
If you don't send for the seeds today, you won't get them back in time. Don't forget, everything's got to come from California.
I know.
Oh, gee, then drop it, Ma. What's the use? You can't steal the money.
No, I can't steal it. They would only send the seeds COD.
Ma, you know they won't.
I had it all planned out, so give me my list, please. Show you already who gave something to ready for the seeds.
And you still haven't enough, huh, Ma?
No. Sammy, how much did I give you this week? I mean for the fare to school and...
Oh, the same as you give me every week, Ma.
Sammy, say no if it's no, but maybe just for 1 week, if you got up a little earlier in the morning.
Yeah?
I mean, would Junior Slauson, he drives the milk truck. Maybe you could take a hitch with him every morning, and then you wouldn't have to take the train, huh? Just 1 week, family. Martha?
No, Bart, I came over just as soon as I could.
I'm glad.
Anybody just came in with a few dollars.
Yeah, I'm glad.
There ain't much coming in, is there?
No, and this is the last day. If we don't send out the money order today, then there's no use sending out at all, because we wouldn't get the seeds back in time.
Well, they can't play the mischief. They haven't got it. I never could seem to get the hang of it.
I could take the doll back that I bought for Mr. Tuner's little girl. She won't be here for a little while yet. And...
You want to try it, Rosalie?
Uh-huh.
How much was the doll?
$6.
Who did you buy it from?
Deckers.
Deckers? Well, you just tell Charlie Decker that Martha Wilberforce said for him to take the doll and give you back the cash.
Do you think he'll do it?
Mention my name, see if he don't. My father set him up in business 30 years ago. I could have been Mrs. Decker if I chose to be, but I didn't.
I'll just say that Martha Wilberforce...
That'll be all you have to say.
All right, so put on your coat, Rosalie. Sammy, you want to walk over with Rosie, huh?
Well, all right, but hurry up there,
It won't
Rosie.
take all right. Now, put $6 more on that list. Let's see what we have.
All right, $6.
Oh, that still doesn't do it, does it? Let me look at that list. Did you call Mildred Halter?
Let me see, Mildred Holter. No, I didn't.
Why not?
But Mr. Goldberg said they're awful poor, so...
Awfully poor. Well, aren't we all poor? We wouldn't be scraping pennies together if we were rich. Now, there's Sadie Lockett.
Sadie Lockett and Tara Bullock, neither. No, and Rachel...
Oh, for pity's sake, Mrs. Goldberg. You can't expect to collect money if you're scared to ask for it. How are they going to know unless you tell them? Now, let me see. I'll call Sarah Bullock first. Hope she has a phone. Ask operator for Sarah Bullock's phone while I get some more of these names.
All right, so maybe we'll get the letter out today anyway.
Well, not if we sit here and twiddle our thumbs, we won't.
All right, darling, all right.
$3 on the kitchen table.
Oh, thanks, family, darling. Hello? Hello, what's the name after?
Sarah Bullock.
Sarah Bullock's place, please. Sarah Bullock's place, please. Yes, Sarah Bullock.
Ma, will you lift that child up so as I can answer the phone, please?
I don't know what you want to telephone for. You ain't had a bit of good news come over that wire since you had it.
Hello? Well, yes, Martha? Yes? Seeds? This is the first I've heard of it. Well, Nat's put everything we have in the mill.
More than he's got.
Well, will you hold on a minute?
What's Martha Wilberforce stirring up now?
It ain't only Martha, Ma. All the women in town are sending away for seeds.
Seeds? You've got to have land to plant seeds in. Nat sold the last piece of land you could plant anything in.
These are flower seeds. It ain't the seeds so much. It's about selling them and raising some money. Miss Goldberg's going to New York with them and see if she can do something.
This town ain't been the same since them people come here.
Ma, Martha's on the phone. Ma, do you think you could let me have just a little?
What I've got saved is my own. My only comfort in living is knowing I'll get a decent burial when I die. Sarah, I ain't got all day. Yes?
Well, what did she say?
Yes? Well, then, be at the post office not later than 4. Goodbye. That's one.
Why, that's one. And what did she say?
She says she'll see what she can do when she comes down.
Uh-huh. And did you add in Sam's $3?
Yes. Now call, let me see, Mildred Halter.
Mildred Halter. All right. Now call Mildred Halter. Hello? Hello, Central? Mildred Halter. Yes, Mildred Halter, please. Mildred?
Hello? Yes, this is Mildred Halter. Oh, hello, Martha. Well, for pity's sakes, what makes you call? Yes. Seeds. Mm-hmm. Well, Martha, I've got more trouble now than it's human to bear. The government inspector is just after condemning 6 of my cows. Well, of course, they'll pay me for them, but when? Well, Joe, let our best Guernseys go. It's all in the mill. Well, everything's in the mill. Well, yes, I know all that, I've got a few dollars. If Joe ain't found where I hid it, it's still there. But hold on a minute. Hello? Hello? Hello, Martha? Martha? Hello, Martha? Martha, hello? Yes. Mildred? Hello? Yes? Will you be at the post office at 4? Because we've got to send a money order out today, Mildred. If we don't, we won't get the seeds back in time. Don't you see? All right. At the post office at 4. At the post office at 4. At the post office at 4. Come along and have everybody around here.
Hey, these mail bags have got to go down to the depot, Martha.
I know they do, John Bowden, but you'll have to wait. Who are we waiting for? Mildred Halter and Sarah.
Well, you can wait, ladies, but the government can't wait, and I'll have to bring these bags down to the station.
But we have to send the seeds and the money order today. It's for the seeds, Mr. Bowden.
We want a money order, John.
Well, all right, that's what I'm here for. How much is it?
Well, that's what we're waiting to find out.
Come.
Well, they better now. They'll be come now. Ladies to come now. They'll be running. Maybe bring more.
Oh, here you are, Martha. It's my last $4.
Oh, here's my last 8, Martha.
Oh, my, that makes 12.
88, and that makes 100.
Well, here, I'll make it out for 100.
Yes, Mr. Bowden, $100 for the money order.
All right.
$100, Martha.
Now, who's it to go to, miss?
Just one second, please, Mr. Bowden. Special delivery airmail. I want special delivery air because
all
we've got
right.
to go to California.
Yes?
Here, Mr. Bowden. That's
All right.
the,
Is this
that's
the address on here?
Write
Wait
it down carefully.
all right, there you are. Wait a minute
sign.
now. Yeah, all right.
You got it?
California? Yeah, all right. All right, here you are. Now, that'll cost you 38 cents.
38 cents. Wait. 38 cents? I don't think I have a penny with you. You Mrs. Goldberg? Sorry, I never got to know. Who's got money? Anyone?
Well, no money. Well, I guess I'll have to pay for it myself. Well, there's my contribution, ladies. But remember, I want it back in seeds.
This is Arch Obler bringing you another in our series of stories of the unusual. And once again we caution you, these lights-out stories are definitely not for the timid soul. So we tell you calmly and very sincerely, if you frighten easily, turn off your radio now.
And now, come to the bank.
Please, would you come to the bank with me? Please. I've asked so many people, but they won't listen to me. Will you come to the bank with me? No, don't turn your head. Please don't go away. Listen, if I tell you very carefully why I want you to come to the bank with me, you will come, won't you? He's locked up in there. He can't get any air. Oh, no, don't get excited. I didn't say he was locked up in the vault. All he's got in their vault is money. I don't care about money. All I care about is him. I didn't mean to tell you. All right, I did. You've got to come to the bank with me and help me. It's Fred Roth. He's in the bank and he can't get out. What are you laughing about? That's not so funny. I tell you, he's in the bank and he can't get out. He's been in there for, I think it's 3 weeks. Blast you, stop laughing. Please listen to me. I'll tell you all about it from the start. I'm a school teacher. At the Matson High School, I teach physics. It's a rational science, cause and effect. Mr. Roth teaches in the same school, psychology, the way of the human mind. But that's not an exact science, is it? The human mind is not exact at all. And that started it. That's what started it. Mr. Roth said to me.
Well, speaking quite frankly and candidly, Miss Moss, I don't think very much of your exact sciences.
2 and 2 always add up to 4, Mr. Roth.
Not where the human mind is concerned.
I don't understand.
Well, It is my profound conviction that the potentialities of the human mind and body have never been realized by any human creature.
But there have been great men. Plato, Lincoln, and many scientists.
Yes, but only fractional greatness, using perhaps 1/10 of the power latent within themselves. It's all a matter of concentration. Thomas Edison used perhaps 1 iota more concentration than the average man and became one of the great inventors of all times. I tell you, Miss Moss, if men would concentrate their minds to the limit, the universe would be theirs.
That's a very innocent thought, isn't it? Just a teacher talking about the human mind. I thought nothing of it. Mr. Roth was such an intense young man. I liked his intensity.
Just think what could happen if a man could bring his mind to the proper point of concentration. He could move objects with his mind. Yes, why not? Think that a table should move, and it would move.
Mr. Roth.
No. Think that he wanted to be a certain place, and it would be there. Men conceived this civilization just by a thought, and here it is. All is power of thought over matter. A man thinks a book before the book exists. He thinks a house, and only then the house can be. All is power of mind over matter.
I liked to watch his eyes while he talked. They were so bright and burning. And his mouth, as he talked, the way it twisted. I couldn't help liking Mr. Roth, could I? We had dinner together once.
Will you have coffee with your dinner or later?
No, what did you say?
The waiter wanted to know if you wanted coffee with your dinner.
Oh, no coffee.
Oh, monsieur.
It's very nice of you to have dinner with me, Mr. Roth.
Oh, on the contrary, I'm grateful to you. You're a very good listener.
Thank you.
I've done a great deal of work in the week since I last talked to you.
Have you? Please tell me.
Well, it isn't exactly work. It's more of a decision.
Yes?
Yes, I've come to the decision to stop theorizing. Yes, I've decided to put what I believe into practice.
I don't know what you mean.
No, it's quite simple. The powers of concentration. I've decided to put into practice...
The fruit juice is for the lady?
Well, yes, for the lady. Concentration, Miss Moss. I've decided to put into practice my theory of concentration. I don't want to anticipate, but I expect wonderful results, Miss Moss. I might even say unbelievable results.
Unbelievable results. Oh, must I tell you more? Please, come with me to the bank. All right, I'll tell you the rest. The day after he talked to me in the restaurant, Mr. Roth didn't come to school. I know that because at lunchtime he wasn't in his usual place in the cafeteria. And when I asked, they told me that he suddenly had taken leave of absence and that an extra teacher was taking over his classes. I was very disappointed. A week went by, 2 weeks. I decided to go see him. I took a few days off from my work. I found out his home number. Friday morning, I bought a new dress, very becoming one. Then I went to visit Mr. Roth. I was certain he wouldn't be angry with me. It's perfectly proper that I call on him as a friend.
Yes, Mr. Roth, he's at home. He has the 2 back rooms. He has not been out of there for a week. Won't even let me go in to clean up. You go right ahead. Head of the staircase and to the right.
Mr. Roth, are you in there? It's Miss Moore. Could I speak to you for a moment? Standing there knocking, I suddenly realized that the door was ajar. But he didn't answer, and yet the landlord had said he was at home. I pushed the door open farther and glanced through the opening. Mr. Roth! Mr. Roth! Dead! Oh, no,
I'm alive.
Oh, I thought... Oh, Mr. Roth, your face, the way you look...
No. Water. Glass.
Yes. Oh, you are sick.
I'm not sick. Water.
Here, take it. I'll hold it. Doctor, I'll call a doctor.
No, wait.
But you're ill.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I'm not sick.
Well, then what?
I told you.
Well, I don't know.
I've been sitting here for a week.
Sitting? For a week?
Concentration. Practicing concentration. Concentration. The experiment was most successful. Yeah, most successful. I've proven that I can do what some of the Orientals profess to do. Slow down through concerted willpower the essential life processes. A week without food and water. Is that not a triumph, Miss Moss?
Well, I don't know. Mr. Ross, why do you do these things?
I'm trying to explain it to you simply. The human thoughts are like the rays of the sun, spreading in all directions. By the use of a lens, the rays of the sun can be focused on one point. And instead of warmth, there is a focal point of intense light that can burn its way through all obstacles. And so it is with human thoughts. If, through concentration, a man could focus them on one point, he would be a god among men. I tell you, Miss Moss, that I am confident that I, through training, can become that one man in a million. Even as muscles can be trained, so I am training my mind. And the day when my training is complete, I will be able to do anything I desire. You hear me? Anything.
When he said that, thin and weak and tired as he was, his eyes looked at me. I was afraid. For him. I made up my mind right then. The first thing was to get him out of that room. He ate, rested, and then went out with me.
I don't see why I let you talk me into this, Miss Moss. I have so much work to do.
The walk will do you good.
But where are we going?
Well, first I want you to come to the bank with me.
Beg your pardon?
Well, you see, I've been thinking of taking a little vacation, and I need some money. Going to withdraw some.
Oh, I see.
I too want to get off some place where I can concentrate.
Well, yes, most important.
Yes. Have you thought about going out to the country?
These buildings, Miss Moss. Look at them. Steel and concrete. So firm and so solid. So enduring. You know something, Miss Moss?
Walking so fast,
Once upon a time, they were only an idea in man's mind. Perhaps even now they have no solidity, but are just ideas hanging in air, through which a man with single-mindedness of purpose could walk as easily as if he were walking through air. Do you understand me, Miss Moss?
Well, I'm not sure. The country would be a wonderful place to work. Now, wouldn't it, Mr. Ross? We went into the bank. He kept talking about the powers of concentration. I hardly listened to him. All I could think about was that somehow I had to get him into a new environment. The foyer of the building where the bank was, we went in. People, elevators. Suddenly Mr. Ross stopped. He stared at the wall. I said, Mr. Ross, what are you looking at?
This is the time.
Time for what?
I told you. When my subconscious reached the proper point of incubation, I would know that my powers had reached the point where I could do anything.
Mr. Ross,
anything.
Let go.
Well, this is the time. Now. I must make use of that power now.
No, please. What are you going to do?
That marble wall. Straight ahead. I say I can walk through it.
No, please, stop joking.
I will walk through.
No. Mr. Ross, come back. Don't. Ah! Mr. Ross! Mr. Ross!
What?
The wall! Down! Ah!
Oh, what?
Mr. Ross! Mr. Ross, he walked through the wall! You hear me? He walked through the wall! Martin, self-certain, don't you? It couldn't have happened. But listen, you tin-head mind, I tell you it did. I saw it with my own eyes. Mr. Roth walked right toward that marble wall, and he went into it, and then he was gone. You hear me? Gone. But I mustn't call you names and make you angry, must I? Because you must come to the bank with me. Yes, I'll tell you more of just what happened on that day.
I never heard of such a... Now, look, lady, take it easy.
Get out of my way. The wall. He walked through that wall. I tell you, he walked through that wall.
For sake, please.
He said he'd do it. He did do it. He walked through that wall. I tell you, he walked through that wall.
Disturbance.
Let go of me. Don't hold me. Don't. I gotta get to him. Mr. Roth. I gotta get to Mr. Roth.
Well, this lady, all at once she screamed, and now she...
Something let go of me. Mr. Roth, he contemplated his mind. He said he'd walk through that wall, and he did.
What?
Yes, he did.
Mr. Searle.
Something let go of me. That wall. Mr. Roth went through that wall. I've got to go.
You out of your mind.
I've got to get to him. Mr. Roth, I've got to get to him.
Stop making that noise. Stop it. That wall is solid. Solid concrete faced with marble. You'd better go home and stop disturbing the peace. Go her to the door, lady.
So they put me out. I stood in the street. I didn't know what to do. And then I knew. I would wait there until Mr. Roth came back. And he would come back. He'd gone through the wall. He must have come out on the other side. And now he would walk around the building and come back and meet them there. So I waited.
Good night, George. See you in the morning.
I waited a long time.
Are you waiting for something, lady? The bank's closed, you know. I've seen you standing here ever since I got on my feet, so I thought I'd talk to you.
A long time. It began to rain. I stood there in the rain. Mr. Roth. And then a terrible thought. What is he? I went to the door of the bank building. It was locked. Let me in. Please, let me in. Listen to me. Let me in, Mr. Roth. I've got to get to Mr. Roth.
Hey, lady, what? Don't you know the bank's been closed for hours?
I've got to get in. I've got to
Now,
get in.
take it easy, you. Hey, aren't you the one that's been standing out here?
Let go of me. Mr. Roth is in there.
Now, lady.
I will get in.
Hey, the door.
Let go of me. Mr. Roth, I've got to get in, Mr. Roth.
acting like
I will get in. After this door, I will get in.
Kicking the door in. Now, you come along with me.
Let go of me. Did you get in to see Mr. Roth that night? No.
Order in the court. Order in the court. Prisoner will be held for further examination. Next case.
I tried to tell them, Mr. Roth, but no one would listen to me. All night. And the next terrible day, no one would listen.
Now tell me, do you have dreams, Miss Marsh?
Asking me questions over and over.
Do you think that people dislike you?
Over and over.
Have you often seen Mr. Roth or other people disappear?
Over and over.
When did you first begin to have these hallucinations?
But when I tried to tell them about Mr. Roth, they started to say terrible things to me.
The fact of the matter is, Mr. Roth has disappeared. It is the opinion of the police that he decamped with this woman's money. Yes, took her money and ran off. Yes, took her money and ran off.
I didn't care what they said. I had to get to the bank. You know why? Mr. Roth had started for the wall, and I had seen him go through it, and he hadn't come around to meet me. So there was only one answer. He was still in the wall. And while Mr. Roth was in the wall, they were keeping me in this hospital. I had to get out.
How are you resting now, Miss Moss? Miss Moss, where? Window. Nurse, the woman in this room. She's gone. Out the window. Nurse, Miss Moss is gone.
Got away. In the street. Still raining. I ran along the dark streets until I was at the bank. Closed. There was a dark doorway in another building. I hid in the dark and waited all through the night until morning, until they opened the doors of the bank. I went into the bank. I walked toward the wall. That wall. I wanted to run to it, but I walked. And I was there. The very wall he'd gone into. Mr. Roth, are you in there? It's Miss Moss. Ada Moss. Mr. Roth, please, if you're in there, answer me. They'll see me standing here by the wall talking, and they won't let me stand here. Mr. Roth, please, I've got my ear close to the wall. If you're in there, answer me. I can hear you. You are on the wall. I was right. You did walk into the wall and stay there. Yes, but what are you saying? I can't understand you. Please, Mr. Roth, speak so I can understand you. Yes, I understand. I will get you out of there. Help! Help! There's a man in the wall. Help me get him out. Mr. Roth, you here? I'll get you help. Hurry, people! Bring Atkins and Tex! There's a man in the wall! Mr. Roth's in the wall! They put me back in the hospital. They didn't believe me. They didn't help Mr. Roth. I was very sick. I don't know how many days I was in the hospital. Then I was all right. They let me out.
And this is your last warning, Miss Moss. You are to stay away from the bank. You are to behave yourself as a good, intelligent citizen you normally are. Your last warning, Miss Moss.
And all the time, Mr. Roth was in that wall, waiting for me to help him. And there was so little time left. A man such as Mr. Roth, powers of concentration. He could and did perform a miracle, walking through a wall. But even considering his strength and breath and the way he said, slowing down the vital life processes, how long do you think he could live entombed in that wall? I had to get to him. When I walked by the bank, hiding in the crowd so they wouldn't see me, I saw that there was a policeman there. They put a policeman there just to keep me out. I had to figure out some way to get in there. Tell Mr. Roth to keep alive that I was working to help him. I had to figure out a way. There's a store across the street. A store selling paint. That was the answer.
Something for cleaning? Of course, madam. How much do you think you'll need? Oh, I suggest a pint. We have it here in bulk. Open it? Sure. See, it's standard cleaning fluid. Lady, no, that match. Look out, don't, it's inflammable. Don't. Help, fire. Grab that woman. She said fire to the store, fire. What was that?
In a few moments, everyone was so busy that I was quite free to go into the bank. In a few seconds, my ear was against the wall. Mr. Roth, I'm back. They tried to keep me away from me, but I'm back. Mr. Roth, can you hear me? Alive. Yes, still alive. Oh, Mr. Roth, what should I do? What? Yes, I will. They won't stop me this time. Get something and turn on the wall. Fire axe, off the wall. Mr. Roth, look. If you could see, I got a fire axe. Could they help you? Will you get out? We'll get you out. Yes, I will get you out. The mob is crossing, Mr. Roth. I will get to you. Yes, to you. No one will stop me now. I don't want to help you, but I'm helping you.
Give me that axe.
Oh, no, you won't stop me. I'll get to help Mr. Roth.
Give me that axe.
I'll give it to you.
Lady,
I told you not to stop me. I told you not to stop me.
You killed the policeman.
No, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
Lady, give me that.
I'll kill Mr. Roth. I'll kill him. Stand back. Don't stop me. I'm going to kill Mr. Roth. Stand back. I'm locked up now. They locked me up. You've been my first visitor in weeks. Do you know what that means? All his days he's been in that war, holding himself alive, with all his will. But sooner or later, if he thinks I'm not going to help him, he'll give up hope. And he'll lose his will to live. And suddenly he'll die. He'll die. Please make them let me go and come and help me save Mr. Roth. If you don't help me, it will always be on your conscience, won't it? At night when you're alone and you can't sleep, you'll open your eyes and you'll see Mr. Roth entombed in that wall. But it won't be Mr. Roth anymore. Just the bones of a man. Bones and dead, decaying flesh and worms. And the skull will talk to you and ask you, why didn't you help me? So I ask you again, please, won't you come to the bank?
It is later than you think.
Tonight's story, A Force Called X-07, starring Mr. Moto, Mr. I.A. Moto.
I stood there in a room in Bellevue Hospital in New York beside the young doctor. We watched the patient on the bed with a sort of stunned, incredible horror. The woman's condition was so fantastic as to defy all reason. She had grown visibly smaller in the past quarter hour. Her body was not that of a woman, but of a child. The young doctor's fists were clenched around the foot of the iron hospital bed.
Mr. Moto, this is unbelievable.
Yes.
I can't stand it. It's sickening. Yes. What's happened to her? What's caused this?
1,000 apologies, Doctor. But this is a secret which must be kept at all costs. The assignment on X-07 started with a personal phone call last Saturday. I had just completed a case in Cairo for U.S. intelligence and had returned to New York for a rest and a holiday. I wanted nothing so much as I wanted quiet. I was annoyed when my phone rang at 10 in the evening. I was already in bed. Hello?
Mr. Moto?
Yes?
Moto, it's Howard Carlton here.
Why, Professor Carlton, I've been in Europe, and I've been meaning to call you ever since I returned, but...
Moto, can I see you tonight? There's an entrance into Central Park at 50th... There's an entrance into Central Park at 5th Avenue and 90th Street. Can you be there in half an hour?
You mean outside? In this weather?
Please, Moto, I know what I'm doing. This is desperately urgent.
Then, of course, I'll meet you anywhere you say.
5th Avenue and 90th Street, the entrance to the park. In half an hour.
Right. Can't you give me any idea of what... Hello? Hello? Who is there can make muddy water clear? But if left alone, it will become clear of itself. Professor Howard Carlton was head of the physics department of one of the greatest universities in the world. I met him first in Hong Kong many years ago, and I think I can say we each treasured each other's friendship. I took a cab to 5th Avenue and 90th Street. Drizzling rain made murky globs of the streetlights. At my right stretched the park, barren, deserted, and so very dark. The occasional taxi hurried by, as if anxious to get away from the black wetness of the night. Suddenly, out of the mist, I recognized Howard Carlton's massive body. He was wearing a raincoat and his hat was pulled down over his face. His walk suggested one thing: fear.
I say, Moto, this is awfully decent of you.
Howard, what is this all about? Why must we meet outside in this wretched weather? Surely there must be... Wait. What is it?
I may have been followed. Let's go out into the park a bit. We can sit on one of the benches there.
You are afraid, aren't you?
Yes.
Of what?
Specifically, of being murdered.
Murdered? By whom?
A man who's blackmailing me.
Blackmailing you?
Quite successfully.
With what?
Something I did once. Can we sit down here?
Suppose you start at the beginning.
Moto.
What is it?
I thought I saw someone. I'm afraid I'm in a complete funk. Have you ever heard of the Michelson-Manley experiment?
Never.
Well, as you know, I'm not only head of the physics department at the university, I'm also in charge of the Manhattan Atomic Research Foundation.
Yes.
Some time ago, as you may have read in the papers, there was a 2,200-ton cosmotron completed at the Brookhaven National Laboratory. A 2 billion-volt atom smasher.
It spews out a beam of hydrogen atoms traveling at the speed of light. This beam is directed like a searchlight, so to speak, into the interiors of heavier atoms. The cosmotron at Brookhaven is, shall we say, the climax of man's struggle to harness the power of matter.
We are here perhaps to discuss physics?
I'm trying to say that we've invented a weapon.
We?
My assistant and I.
At the Foundation?
Yes. An atomic weapon. Dr. Bradley, he's my assistant, started working with a degenerate form of radium known as radium-E some 10 years ago. It was to be a cure for cancer. The Atomic Energy Commission realized it had other possibilities. Only Dr. Bradley and I worked on the final phase of it. Now we've finished.
Go on.
Well, the weapon, it's very simple. It's portable, light, and so deadly. It's like having 1,000th part of an atom bomb in a light bulb. Only George Bradley and I are in possession of the complete plans. And now I'm being blackmailed.
For what?
27 years ago at Oxford University, I joined the Communist Party.
I see.
In those days, communism was rather fashionable. I talked the usual nonsense of an undergraduate, and then, as one must, if one has any maturity at all, I grew out of it. I forgot it. I got into science. I also forgot something else.
What?
I forgot to resign from the party officially. A man named Sergei Belenkov threatens me with exposure. I am either to turn over the secret of X-07 to him.
Meaning to Russia?
Yes. Or be exposed as a member of the English Communist Party.
And is there any choice?
My dear chap, of course there's no choice. I told Belenkov to do as he liked, that I was going to the FBI.
And?
He's tried to kill me 3 times in the last 48 hours.
I see.
Now there's where you come in. I want to go to Washington. X-07 must be dealt with on the highest level. Your job's to see that I get to Washington alive. Nobody knows we met tonight. Get 2 tickets on a plane to Washington tomorrow afternoon. I shall call you in the morning from a police station somewhere. And now, for heaven's sake, give me a cigarette.
Yes, of course. Here.
Thanks.
Isn't there some way we can do this without ruining your career?
X-07 is more important than a career, mine or anybody else's. Have you a match?
I have a lighter somewhere. Yes, here it is.
Thanks.
Howard, your hand.
Put out that lighter. It's just the first finger. It was exposed to X-07 in an experiment. I shall have it amputated.
The weapon is capable of that.
My dear fellow, that's what I'm telling you. X-07 makes the atom bomb as obsolete as a sailing ship. That's why.
Oh, Howard! From somewhere in the darkness of the park, a bullet brought instant death to one of the most brilliant minds of our generation. Howard Carlton fell forward to the wet, cold pavement. I took his right hand in mine and felt the tiny, hard, withered forefinger. The finger not of a man, but of a baby. My first impulse was to call the police. Then I thought better of it. Nothing could bring back the life, and there was too much at stake to risk publicity. I left my friend unattended in death and hurried home to my apartment. This is Mr. Moto calling Intelligence G2, and I want private line 825L4, please. Thank you. Hello, Captain Yates. I have some orders. Wire Washington and get me everything on a man named Sergei Velenkov. Right. Also do a fast routine check on a Dr. George Bradley who works at the Manhattan Atomic Research Foundation. Correct? I will be in your office tomorrow morning at 9:30. I would like this information to be there, too. Thank you, Captain Yates. Truly, the security of the state rests in the hearts of its citizens.
The dossier on Velenkov was airmailed from Washington last night, Mr. Moto.
Thank you, Captain Yates.
George Bradley's file is negative.
He was registered and fingerprinted when he started working with Professor Carlton. He's 38, a Ph.D. in physics, author of several papers on the treatment of cancer by radium and X-rays.
His address?
819 East 75th Street.
I imagine he would be at home on Sunday morning, don't you?
Want us to bring him in?
No. Captain Yates, the window of a man's soul is clearest in his own house. I will go to him.
Okay, have it your own way. Anything else for me to do?
There may be. After I have a Sunday morning chat with Dr. Bradley in his own house.
Yes?
You are Dr. Bradley?
Yes.
I am Mr. Moto. Mr. I.A. Moto. Central Intelligence. May I have a moment of your time?
Well, certainly. Come in.
Thank you so much.
Sit down, won't you?
You are most kind. Ah, the crossword puzzle in the Times. A so stimulating pastime for agile brains.
Sometimes mine isn't agile enough. I've given up on this one.
I am glad to see that you are neither rare, like jade, nor common, like stone. I shall trust you. I believe you work with Professor Howard Carlton?
I do.
Do you know that he is a communist?
What?
Yes.
Well, you're joking.
No.
I don't believe it.
Disbelieving the truth will not make it any less true, Dr. Bradley. I believe you have invented a weapon called Exo-7.
Do you mean he told you? Why, is he out of his mind?
My dear Dr. Bradley, I am working for U.S. intelligence.
But Exo-7 is absolutely top secret.
I know that.
Then why ask me? It is a weapon. The simplest and most deadly weapon man has ever found, and I hate it.
Indeed? Why?
Because I hate war.
Ah, yes, quite so. Tell me, have you ever heard of a man named Sergei Valenkov?
No. Why?
He was blackmailing Professor Carlton.
What?
He is blackmailing Professor Carlton. If you either meet or get a letter from a man of this name, you will get in touch with me at once.
Certainly.
Valenkov. Remember it.
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much for seeing me.
Well, I'm afraid it hasn't been of much use, but you're welcome.
Sometimes one allows oneself to do things purely because they are pleasant. Good morning, Dr. Bradley.
Valenkov, you can come down now.
He's gone?
Yes, come downstairs.
Most of the conversation I could hear, and it reassures me.
I never met a communist yet who didn't have a blind spot. That little man is as dangerous as a keg of nitroglycerin.
But, George...
Shut up, let me think. Yes, I'm sure he knows Carlton is dead. He said was blackmailing Professor Carlton. He said was, not is. He used the past tense. You're sure Carlton wasn't alone when you shot him?
I'm positive.
Then Moto was with him.
To see was an impossibility. It was only since Carlton lit a cigarette I could shoot at all.
Oh, we shouldn't have killed him.
But, Georgie, he with his own words told me he would report our little blackmail to the FBI.
We could have done something, locked him up. Listen.
Yes?
The plans for X-07 are already on microfilm.
Yes.
Then have the operation now. This surgeon, can you trust him?
He's high in the party.
Well, that's no recommendation. So are you.
Georgie, I will not allow you the insult.
You do as you're told. You know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to try to stop a war. Whether I'm right or wrong, you'll do things my way or not at all.
Of course, Georgie. There is no need for the temper, the anger.
Get your surgeon to come to the house tonight if he can. Unless you get out of America in 48 hours, you won't get out at all. What's this operation involve?
It is of the most simplicity. The microfilm plans are placed in a sterile plastic capsule. Inside my body, the capsule is secreted. There is no danger. But there is also none of the ridiculousness of customs. One cannot, after all, declare an appendicitis.
When will you be able to travel?
In 4 days.
2 days?
No.
Look, Valenkov, the American eagle may not be as bad-tempered as the Russian bear, but if you ruffle his feathers once too often, he'll claw your guts out and throw them in your face. The eagle's mad now, so don't take any chances. It's got to be 2 days. Today is Sunday. Now, on Tuesday night, you'll take off to Rio. Once in Rio, you can make your own plans for getting to Paris and then to East Berlin.
Tuesday, I will still have the pain from the walking.
Well, just be a big, brave communist and you'll manage. I intend to give New York a little demonstration of X-07 a couple of hours after you take off. It'll kill a few thousand people, But the rest will stop and think. Now get that surgeon over here to open up your fat belly.
Sometimes I wonder, Georgie, if we are friends.
Don't wonder anymore. We're not.
Please, no hard words. Come and eat the chachi. I made it myself with wine.
Come in. Mr. Moto, I didn't expect you back this morning.
I have just been to Dr. Bradley's house, Captain Yates. Did the dossier on Velenkov arrive?
Yeah, just after you left. Here.
Thank you. Alexei Sergei Velenkov, born 1899, Magnitogorsk, Russia. Father Russian, mother Egyptian. Wait.
What?
But of course I should have known.
Huh?
Captain Yates, I want 3 men to guard Bradley's house on 75th Street 24 hours a day, beginning this moment.
Mind telling me why?
Let us say it is a suspicion of the Oriental mind.
Nuts. You were born, brought up in San Francisco. You're as American as I am, so don't try being Eastern mysterious. Not with me.
The bluntness of the oak is more to be admired than the sharpness of the sickle.
Meaning I'm dumb?
No, my friend, not at all. I want guards on Bradley's house for 2 reasons. One, I think he knows Carlton is dead. I made a remark to the effect that Carlton was being blackmailed. Bradley picked me up on the 10th, is being blackmailed, he said. Since the Carlton murder has been kept absolutely secret, how would Dr. Bradley know?
That checks. What's the other reason?
Chachi.
Again, please?
Cabbage soup.
Cabbage soup?
When cabbage soup is made with sauterne, it becomes chachi. It is practically a national dish where Velenkov was born. Magnitogorsk is famous for it. Like a circus for hot dogs. I smell chachi in Dr. Bradley's house. I suspect that Sergei Velenkov will be arriving soon for luncheon.
And if he does?
Arrest him.
On what charge?
With suspicion of murder.
Anything else?
Detain anyone entering or leaving the Bradley house. Bring them down here for questioning.
Including Bradley?
No. Let him go and come as he pleases.
Right. That all?
You will be so kind, Captain Yates, as to report to me at my apartment tomorrow at noon. Come in, Yates. The door is unlocked.
Well, here I am, right on the dot of noon.
Punctuality, Captain, is the virtue of the strong. Now, what about this surgeon?
Well, he went to Bradley's house last night. He was in there almost 2 hours. We picked him up when he left. He seems to be on the level. Bradley has migraine headaches.
Indeed.
The funny thing is, the surgeon guy wants to go to jail.
Why?
I don't know. At first, he refused to come down for questioning. My man got a little insistent. The surgeon took a swing at him. So we booked him now for assault and resisting a police officer in the line of duty. He doesn't want bail. He says he'll arrange for bail Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Search me.
Captain Yates, a man who will not fight injustice is hiding guilt.
Could be. Bradley went out this morning at 8 o'clock. He came back at 11:15 carrying a large package.
You did not molest him.
You said not to.
You were right. Now, I must do some thinking. I would almost trade the honor of my ancestors to know what is going on in Bradley's house at this moment.
Georgie, will you stop working on that thing?
Shut up, Velenkov.
Sometimes I think you have the insanity.
Think what you're like.
But why don't they know about the Carlton murder at the foundation? You go down this morning, you bring home this machine of hell, and no one says nothing.
I invented it. Remember? There. Ready. Plug it in and switch it on.
Will you stop? I have the agony, the pain. The wound will never heal enough for travel tomorrow night. They want the 7 stitches. I tell you,
You'll be all right.
You're crazy. Crazy.
No, I'm not. It will kill several thousand people with this machine tomorrow night, but I'm not crazy. I'll be shot, electrocuted, maybe even lynched. But I'll teach the world a lesson it'll never forget. Anyway, you don't need to worry. You'll be on a plane halfway to Rio.
Who is it?
Yay! Let me in, quick. This case is crazy. Crazy. Valinkoff came out of Bradley's house an hour ago. He must have been there all the time. I followed him to LaGuardia, nabbed him on the Air France reservation desk. He pulled a gun on me and I socked him. In the stomach. Makes me sick thinking about it. My fist darn near went... He had some sort of operation. We got an ambulance, came back to town on the East River Drive. When we passed 75th Street where Bradley's house is, Valinkoff went nuts. Started babbling about a machine, XO something.
Go on. Go on.
Well, he died of fright. Why in the ambulance he died of fright?
I am a fool. I am an idiot, son of a thousand idiots. You will drive me at once to Bradley's house.
Listen, Mr. Motor.
No, you will listen. XO7 is a weapon. The deadliest weapon man has ever known. In the name of 10,000 heavens, don't stand there gaping at me. We haven't a moment to lose. This must be done quietly. I will go in alone to Bradley's house. You, in the meantime, will follow certain directions to the letter.
Am I to understand, Mr. Moto, that you have deliberately walked into the mouth of the dragon?
Yes.
Why?
Because I know what you are going to do.
Don't move. XO7 is rather flexible. It can be made as directional as a searchlight. The meson beam is pointed straight at your body. All I have to do is flick this switch. And to get out of the way, you would have to move with the speed of light.
I have no intention of moving, Dr. Bradley.
You mystify me, Mr. Moto. You ring my doorbell and announce with that inscrutable oriental calm that you want to watch the test. How did you know there was to be a test? If you don't keep your hands on your knees where I can see them, I'll kill you. You don't seem to understand what this is. This is XO7. Small, portable, simple. This is the filament. Radium E. Heavy hydrogen in the cathode is in this tube here. The meson beep is very weak, but it can split the hydrogen atom.
Meaning?
Why do you keep looking at your watch? Are the police waiting outside? Do you think they can rush in with guns and stop me?
I realize now that they cannot.
Then relax, but keep your hands on your knees. The mouth of the tube is now pointing straight down through Mrs. Hanley's apartment. It takes a moment to warm up.
Bradley, in the name of heaven.
Exactly, in the name of heaven. Mr. Moto, when a human being is sprayed with my invisible meson beam, the water in the body is broken up. A proton in the hydrogen atom is shot free of its nucleus. The water in the body becomes oxygen and hydrogen atoms. You evaporate, you shrivel, you dry up. You become a shriveled, hard, dry little calcium doll about 3 feet long.
A death ray.
The dream of inventors for centuries. I will give it to America. Valinkoff has taken it to Russia tonight. As a lesson, I shall exterminate a few thousand people. Everyone within a radius of a mile, to be precise. And bricks and steels are no protection. 20 feet of lead is the only thing that will stop it. Poor Mrs. Hanley.
Mrs. Hanley?
She sleeps directly under where I'm standing. She was a rather nice woman.
Dr. Bradley, I implore you,
War needs to be brought home to us here. So a few thousand die, perhaps millions will be saved. I think Russia will be afraid to start anything, too. The tube is hot now. I'm going to start moving it slowly from side to side. You'd better stand over in that corner. The light! The power! Somebody's turned off the power!
I must ask that you keep quite still, Dr. Bradley.
Well, Mr. Moto, that wraps it up. Bradley will be tried for the murder of Mrs. Hanley. And he'll fry.
Just the same, Captain Yates. He had quite an idea. An idea you frustrated by obeying my instructions to have the power company cut off electric service to all of East Side Manhattan.
Bradley was nuts.
No, Captain Yates. He had an ideal. Warped, perhaps, but of some merit. And he really didn't give the secret of XO7 to Russia.
Thanks to us getting Valinkoff?
No. Bradley couldn't really be a traitor. He only wanted us to believe Russia had it, hoping our fear would make us more careful. I examined the microfilm which the coroner removed from Valenkov's body. It was overexposed. It was completely useless.
You have just heard the world's greatest international detective philosopher, Mr. I.A. Moto, in A Force Called X-07. James Monk starred as Mr. Moto. The script was written and directed by Harry W. Junkin. Others in the cast were Peter Capell, John Larkin, Gavin Gordon, and Scott Tennyson. The music was transcribed. This is Fred Collins speaking, and here with a preview of next week's story is Mr. Moto.
Yuzzi has written, "He who renounces fame has no sorrow." Next week, a story that proves the words of the sage. A story of fame and tragedy concerning a flight from Istanbul. And now, may I wish you a good night, blessed with sleep, charmed with contentment.
And so the money order for the flower seeds Molly and her friends are to sell is finally on its way. With it go the hopes and prayers and the last few pennies of practically every woman in town. Is Molly aware of the great responsibility she's assumed? And how about Jake? Will he succeed in getting the mill open in time? Be sure to listen tomorrow. You know, even women who thought they were using the best dishwashing soap are changing to Oxidol these days. They find Oxidol takes the drudgery out of dishwashing, gives such thick, rich suds, melts grease so fast, even the biggest pile of dirty dishes disappears as if by magic. You save time, you save work, and you save your hands every time you use it. For along with its amazing efficiency, Oxidol gives safety to hands such as you can't get from old, harsh soaps. It's the result of a remarkable new process and a new formula that make mild, gentle soap 2 to 3 times more efficient, yet keep it safe. Try Oxidol. Why not buy a package when you go to the store today? Keep your hands lovely and at the same time get the dishwashing job done faster than ever before. Look for the box with the orange and blue circles marked OXYDOL, Oxidol. And be sure to hear the Goldbergs tomorrow. Molly has persuaded the women of Glastonbury to put their last few pennies in her plan to sell flower seeds. Jake has persuaded the men to put their savings into the mill. Now, a new complication arises. Be here tomorrow, same time, same station. Until then, this is Ray Saunders saying goodbye for the makers of Oxidol.
To the men, living and dead, who did these things, we dedicate this program, The Dam Busters, presented by the author himself, Paul Brickhill, dramatized by Morris West, an Australasian radio production.
Good evening, this is Paul Brickhill speaking. Now they were given a number, Guy Gibson's men felt that the new squadron had really been born, and all of them cheerfully assisted in the christening ceremony. 617 Squadron. It was a lusty infant, but it wouldn't come of age until it had achieved its purpose, and none of them knew what that purpose was. Gibson hoped he would learn something of it when he was ordered to report to Weybridge Railway Station, where he would be met by a certain man.
Hello, Guy.
Mutt. Mutt Summers, eh? Are you the man I'm looking for?
Well, if you're the man I'm waiting for, I am. I've got the car waiting outside. Come on.
Where are we going, Mutt?
Vickers Works.
Vickers? Oh, I don't get it. What's all this about?
Well, you'll find out. You wanted to be a test pilot for me once, remember?
Sure, I remember. Seems a long time ago. And what's this, a test job?
Oh, sort of. It's not for me, but it is a test job.
Well, who's it for, then?
For a man named Wallace. Barnes Wallace.
I'm glad you've come, Gibson. Now we can get down to it. There isn't a great deal of time left. I don't suppose you know anything about the weapon?
Weapon? I've never even heard of a weapon. In fact, I haven't heard much about anything.
Huh? Don't you even know the target?
Not the faintest idea.
Oh, my dear boy. Oh, my dear boy. And that makes it very awkward.
Well, after all, Mr. Wallace, if I'm the man to do the job...
I know, I know, but this is dreadfully secret. And I can't tell anyone whose name isn't on this list.
This is damn silly.
Oh, you'll get used to that. Well, I'll tell you as much as I dare, and I hope the AOC will tell you the rest when you get back.
It's nice to have someone tell me something.
You'd better sit in on this too, Mutt.
All right, Mr. Wallace.
Well, now. There are certain objects in enemy territory which are quite big and vital to the German war effort. They're so big that ordinary bombs won't hurt them. But I got the idea for a special type of bomb which, if dropped at a certain point on the target, would destroy it by transmitted shock waves.
Transmitted shock waves? I don't get that.
You've seen it working in the pubs, Guy. A dozen times over. The Shuff Halfpenny board. Remember how you get 2 or 3 pennies lying touching each other and you flick another one in behind them? The shock waves go right through them, but they all stay where they are except the front one, which goes skidding off. Well, that's the shock wave.
Oh, yes, now I get it.
I thought you would.
Before you go, I'm going to show you some films which show how a bomb aimed and dropped over water can be brought to land at the base of a structure. You'll have to drop my special bomb in the same way on the German target.
Will we be operating over water?
Yes, over water. At night, or in the early morning when it's very flat. Now, tell me, Mr. Gibson, can you fly to these limits? 240 miles an hour, at 60 feet, and still bomb accurately.
Well, it's terribly hard to judge your height over water, particularly smooth water. How much margin of error is allowed?
None. That's the catch. You must fly at 60 feet. No more and no less. Otherwise your aiming won't be accurate.
Well, there's probably a way of doing it. We'll just have to find it, that's all.
You'll have to find it very quickly, Gibson, because if you fail the first time, you won't get a second chance.
Now you know what he said. Here's the group car coming in.
All right, boys. Break it up. Come on, break it up. I've got some more information about this assignment of ours.
Oh, that's good. I think I what it was.
Not all the information, but some of it. We've got a lot of problems to solve, and I can't solve them all by myself. So I want the benefit of your experience. If you've got any ideas, let's have them.
What's the problem?
Right. Here's the first problem. We will have to bomb in the early morning or late night, possibly in mist. What are the best conditions for training?
I'd say moonlight, Guy.
Moonlight, that's not bad idea.
But you don't get much reliable moonlight in this country.
True enough.
Couldn't we stooge around in dark glasses? Oh, it's not so good. I've tried it. You can't see your instruments properly.
Just a minute. I seem to have heard about a new type of synthetic night training. They put transparent amber screens around the perspex. And the pilot wears blue glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it's just like night flying, but you can see your instruments. Now, I'll see if Satterley can rake up the equipment for us. Now, the next problem is that we've got to come in over the target at 60 feet.
What?
Outrageous.
60 feet? That's blue murder, Guy.
I know. But that's the way it's got to be done.
Oh, hell, Guy, you can't navigate at that height.
What do you mean you can't navigate?
Well, when you're flying as low as that, you can't see much of the area. So you'll need large-scale maps, plenty of detail.
That's another problem. With large-scale maps, you have to keep folding and unfolding. They're too big.
Oh, it's all right. You can get strip maps. Put them on rollers. You know, like a window blind.
Right. Now we'll settle on that. Large-scale maps in strips and on rollers. I'll organize it. The next point is, we'll be flying over water.
Oh,
water! Oh, yes. That means we'll have to do our training over the lakes and fens. Astle, I want you to do a series of recce flights over these areas and bring me back as many photographs as you can. Then the boys can start training.
Okay, Guy. I'll fix it.
What about the regulations? They say no low flying. There'll be a lot of complaints.
I'll deal with the complaints.
Hey, listen, how do you get an accurate check on your altitude when you're flying at 60 feet above water?
I don't know. I'm going to try and find out. And if you bright boys have got any ideas, you might let me know.
We'll certainly do that.
All right, that's all for now. First flight orders will be posted at 0900 hours tomorrow morning.
60 feet over water and in mist. Holy smoke!
It's you, Gibson. Oh, come in. Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Well, how are you making out?
All right, except for one thing.
What's that?
Barnes Wallace tells me we've got to come in over the target with water underneath us at 60 feet. No more, no less.
Yes, that's right. There's no margin of error.
I haven't yet found a way of doing it. If you work on your altimeter, you can be a long way out, especially over Germany.
Yes. Yes, I know that. Anyway, we'll think of something. Now, did Wallace tell you anything about the target?
No. He was very cagey about that, sir.
He has orders to be cagey, as you call it. However, I'm going to show them to you now. You can't train your men properly until you know what they are. But you must keep the knowledge to yourself. You understand that?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Good. Right. Through here. Well, there they are, Gibson. Take a good look at them.
Dams. Dams.
That's right. 3 of the most important dams in Germany. The Möhne, the Eder, and the Sorpe. Between them, they keep the whole of the Ruhr industries going. These are scale models showing the dams themselves and the surrounding countryside.
What a mess they'll make.
If you can breach them.
Yes, if we can breach them.
All right, Gibson. Now you know the score. Go and see Barnes Wallace again, then come back and report to me.
Well, Gibson, how did you get on?
Cochrane gave me the full gen. It's quite a job.
Can you do it, do you think?
In daylight, we'd stand a fair chance. At night, I doubt it very much. And so far, we've discovered no way of flying accurately at 60 feet.
Oh, we'll find some way. By the way, the code word for this operation is downward.
Downward. I'll remember it.
Now, to take my first explanations a little further, the bombs will be aimed so that they strike through the water at the base of the retaining wall. I calculated that the first bomb should at least crack the wall, and then more bombs in the same place should make it topple over. The best times, of course, are when the dams are full. That'll be in May. You'll need moonlight. There's a full moon from the 13th to 19th of May.
About 6 weeks. It's not very long to train for an operation like this.
I know that, but that's all the time you've got. And you've got to be accurate. If you aim too far back, you won't breach the wall. If you overshoot, you'll hit the parapet.
Will that hurt the dam?
Not at all. It'll hurt you. Your aircraft will be just 60 feet over the exploding bomb.
Yes. Yes, I see what you mean. But it still boils back to the problem of flying dead level at 60 feet. Come in. I'm sorry to be late, sir. I missed the connection from Weybridge. Had to get a special car.
Did you see Wallace?
Yes. He's given me more gen. He's as concerned as I am over the altitude problem. You see, it affects our training as well.
I think we've got the answer, Gibson. I'm sure we have.
What is it, sir?
Here it is. I've had the backroom boys at the Air Ministry working on it. Now look. You put a spotlight under the nose of the aircraft and another under the belly. You angle them downwards and inwards so that they cross at 60 feet. When you come in over the water, you dive until the point of convergence hits the water, and there you are.
As simple as that.
I'll tell you something, Gibson. Do you know where the boffins got the idea?
I couldn't imagine.
One of them went to see a striptease show, and they threw 2 spotlights on the girl, one from either side of the stage. I never saw much merit in that sort of entertainment, but I do now.
Yeah, so do I. Now we can go ahead without any hitches. I hope.
Just as the broad outline of Wallace's dam-busting scheme seemed impossible to the authorities when he first expounded it, later the detail of it seemed incredibly difficult to Gibson. But Air Vice Marshal Cochrane was not worried by difficulties. He and Wallace believed that all problems concerning this plan could be overcome, and it was the task of 617 Squadron to overcome them. Gibson was given about 6 weeks to have his crews ready to attack the Ruhr dams, sometime between the 13th and 19th of May. He broached the subject of training with the Australian pilot, Mickey Martin.
Listen, Mickey. There's only 6 weeks to deadline.
Oh, blazes, Guy, we've got a hell of a long way to go yet.
Not quite so far now that we know how to gauge our height correctly. How are the boys going on low flying?
Pretty good, Guy. A couple of the crews came in last night with branches and leaves on their radiators. That should be low enough for anybody.
Have you had them out over the sea yet?
Yeah, the first flights went out over the Dogger Bank today. Got himself shot up by naval gunners in Shore Flat.
Serve them right. We'll give them a taste of what they can expect over where we're going.
Is it still like that?
Sorry, Mickey, it's still like that. Any other problems?
Yes, and this one's a big one. The boys have been practicing low-level bombing on the range at Wainfleet. At 60 feet, the drops aren't at all accurate.
The boys' fault or the bomb sight?
The bomb sight. I've tested it myself. At that level, there's a big margin of error.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that, Mickey. I better talk to Cochrane about it.
Tell me one thing, Guy.
Yeah?
Well, I've been on a few trips in my time, but there's never been one that's had so much briefing or preparation. Now, why is that?
Because it's so big, Mickey, it could shorten the war by years, and because if we miss the first time, we'll never get another crack. I'll be away for 24 hours. Keep the boys at it while I'm gone.
And for Pete's sake, get us a new bomb sight.
Well, you seem to be having your share of trouble, Gibson.
Yes, sir. Now it's the bomb sight. At 60 feet, it isn't accurate enough.
You're sure it's the bomb sight and not the bomb aimers?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is another job for the backroom boys. Excuse me. Get me the Ministry of Aircraft Production, Wing Commander Dan. Thank you. Now, Gibson, while we're waiting for this, there's something else. Wallace has just finished the 2 prototypes of the new bomb. They're going to be tested tomorrow at Herne Bay. I want you to go down and watch them. Take your bombing leader with you.
Very good, sir. What time are we supposed to...
Cochrane here. Is that Wing Commander Dan? This is an urgent job. How soon can you get down to see me? Tomorrow morning? Fine. Yes. Yes, we're having trouble with low-level sighting on a specified target. I've got models here. I'd like you to see them. They may help you. Good man. I'll expect you. Dan's a good man, Gibson. He'll dream up something for you.
Very good, sir. Now, what time am I due at Herne Bay tomorrow?
10:30. Take a car straight out to the beach. Wallace will be waiting for you. Oh, you'll need a pass. The security boys will have the area cordoned off. Hang on a minute, and I'll have one made out for you and your bombing leader.
Sorry to get you up so early, Gibson, but the tide's up, and that's the right time. We want to walk out at low tide and see how the bomb stands up to the shock of dropping.
And what's the aiming point?
They're out there, between the two white boys. You see?
Yes, I see.
They're making the run now. There are two of them. One's the camera aircraft. Watch carefully now. There'll be a lot of spray, and if the casing cracks, you'll see fragments. He's too high! He's coming in too high!
A lot of fragments, you see?
Case is broken. I said it wouldn't work. Bomb's too big and heavy, and the case is too light. It shatters as soon as it hits the water.
He still came in too high. He was over 100 feet.
I know. Well, we've got another bomb in the hangar. We'll try it again this afternoon. Here, just hang on to my coat, will you?
What are you going to do, sir?
I'm going to wade out and see if I can pick up some of the fragments. They might tell us something.
It's going to be a cold swim.
Oh, needs must when the devil drives.
They're making a better approach this time.
Yes. Keep your fingers crossed, Gibson. If this casing breaks, I don't know what we're going to do.
He's dead on this time. I wait for it.
It held! The casing held! Thank God for that.
Hello, Chiefy. Like a lift?
I would indeed, Miss Lehman.
Where to, Chiefy?
Admin offices. Wing Commander Gibson.
Quite an honour, Chiefy, to be driving Special Ops personnel.
What do you know about Special Ops, Margot?
Oh, nothing much. Except the boys are doing a lot of low flying, and they're all specially picked men. I've never seen anybody fly the Lancs as low as they do.
Now, you're a nice girl, Miss Lehman, and I like you. So I'll give you a piece of advice. Squadron 617 is not a thing to talk about. It's dynamite. Understand?
Yes, of course I understand.
And I'll tell you another thing. That's why I'm going to see Wing Commander Gibson now. Some silly fool wrote a letter to his girl. And is he going to catch trouble?
Oh, I see. I see.
Well, there you are, sir. There's the letter. The sensors picked it up last night. The passages have been marked in blue.
Oh, show me. The aircraft have been flying low with special night aids for some special operation. Who is this ruddy fool?
One of the fitters, sir.
What sort of a man is he?
Oh, he's a good type, sir, and a good fitter. I think, sir...
Yes, Chiefy?
Well, I think if you were to have him up here and tear a few strips off him, he wouldn't make the same mistake twice. In my opinion, sir, it's... well, I think it's just a slip, sir.
All right, Flight. Run him up to me. I'll give him a lesson he won't forget in a hurry. Gibson here.
Oh, this is security here, sir.
Yes?
As you know, sir, we're tapping all telephone calls.
Yes, I know that.
A call was made last night to a girl in London.
One of my personnel?
Yes, that's right, sir. Aircrew.
Well, don't mention his name on the phone. Send it around to me in an envelope. What did he say?
Sorry I won't be down tomorrow night. I'm flying on special training.
Is that all?
Yes, that's all, sir.
Right. I'll deal with it as soon as you send me his name. Thanks for calling. Fools. The blind, bone-headed fools. Why can't they keep their silly trap shut? Gibson here. Give me the adjutant. Hello. Look, all air crews of 617 Squadron to assemble in the mess at 0300. Yes. Yes, all air crews. All right, chaps. Break it up. I want to talk to you. You there. Stand up on the table.
Who? Me?
Yes, you, pilot officer. Go on, stand up on the table. You see this fellow? He's a pal of yours, isn't he? He carries badges of rank just the same as you do. He's air crew, which gives him special privileges. He's a nice chap. So you'd think. He's got a girlfriend in London. Probably carries a photograph around in his pocket.
Oh, of course he does. Yeah.
She probably thinks he's the last word in heroic British manhood. He telephoned her last night, and while he was telephoning her, he gave her a piece of information that could have cost the lives of every man jack of you. Here's what this man said. And for the information of the rest of you, every phone out of this station is tapped by security men. This is what this clot said to his girl. Sorry, I won't be down tomorrow night. I'm flying on special training. Harmless, isn't it? I'll show you how harmless it is. The girlfriend babbles in a bar or where she works about a hero who's doing special training. An enemy agent hears it, he traces it to this station. And the night we go out on our mission, there's flak and fighters and a balloon barrage and everything else in the box of tricks lined up waiting for us. Now look at him. Look at the fool. Hundreds of men's lives in danger because one idiot can't keep his trap shut. Now, if this happens again with any single one of you, I'll have the man court-martialed and dismissed from the service. That's all.
Well, sit down, Gibson. You know what today is?
April the 29th.
That's right. Only 13 days to the full moon. 13 days to the final test. Now then, give me a training check. Low flying?
Good, sir. Mickey Mountain's done a wonderful job. The boys can come in, moonlight or mist, over any target and hold the crate steady at 60 feet.
Good. Very good. Bomb aiming?
Very good. Your man from the Air Ministry made up a gadget for us out of nails and chunks of wood. Well, it was child's play now.
How about security?
Well, a few minor breaches, but no, it's still good.
I see. Well, Gibson, the water in the dams is rising. If you're not ready by the 13th of May, you won't be ready at all. And the raids will have to be put off for another year.
We'll be ready, sir. But will Wallace be ready with his...
Excuse me. Cochrane here. Hello. Yes? Yes? I see. Thank you very much. That was Wallace on the line. Final tests on the bomb have been completed. And it works, Gibson. It works.
It's always a pleasure having you as a listener for
Sunday night with Old Time Radio. We hope that you'll be back for next week's broadcast. We broadcast from 8 to 11 p.m. Central Time. Until then, sleep tight. This is a production of Lobato Studios, Sao Paulo, Brazil.